Okay.
I think we're good now. So, good evening, everybody. We are live. We might have had a little bit of a pause there, just a few minor technical problems. But if you want to beat the rap, you've got to break a few eggs, to make an omelette and all that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, tonight, welcome everybody to our Christmas show, and special welcome to guest tonight, Jason from Model Kit Stuff. How are you, Jason?
Hello. Good to see you, Peter. Good to see everyone in the chat.
And of course, I borrowed Jason's hat. You probably noticed. I thought he looked very, very dapper with that hat on. It, I think it suits me even better. I need it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so tonight we are going to be talking about lots of interesting things, as ever. Welcome to everybody. I hope you've had a fantastic Christmas. I hope you've all got yourselves some nice drinks and snacks. Just explained to Jason that poor Mrs. O, she's had a little bit of a minor accident and she's not able to run up and down the stairs delivering me butler service as normal. So I've got all sorts of alcoholic beverages around me. It looks like a bar in here, actually, because poor Mrs. O can't come and serve and do her normal thing. So please say hello to Mrs. O, because she's not feeling very well. She's got a very badly sprained ankle. She had a bit of a fall. I blame it on this strange footwear these girls wear, but anyway. So tonight the theme of the show is the Untouchables, and I'll explain why. It'll become more apparent, I think, if you haven't guessed already. We're going to be talking about things like values and ethics, whether you can be bought, by the mob. And we're going to have some more serious conversations about things like accuracy and reliability of reviews, accuracy and reliability of some of the stuff we're watching on YouTube as well, which I'm hoping you're. I'm sure lots of you, like me, have been. I'm going to have to take this off because I'm getting really warm. Now I've got my nice shiny head because I've got different lighting. On YouTube, there's a lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about where you've got this artificial intelligence, which is creeping into a lot of stuff, and it's driving me crazy, really. And I think it's affecting the quality of the experience and the accuracy of the experience. We'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about highlights, lowlights of the year, things like that. And quite a few of the things, one or two that I haven't mentioned to Jason, just technical stuff about one or two interesting developments that's coming in the future in the industry. So, first of all, I think we'll start with, first of all, I know a lot of you have said hello to me and Jason, and I haven't been able to respond because I'm busy trying to make the thing work here. I know that Chris and Dominic and Andrew, just trying to catch up, Jeff, Paul Moore, Stuart, anybody I've missed that's just joined, let's have a quick look. Anybody that I have missed, please forgive me. Captain Charlemagne, yes, I missed you, sorry, sir. Jeff Donahue, yes. Hi, Jeff, hope you're well, had a good Christmas, etc., etc. Anyway, we'll get cracking. We'll do like we did last time. We'll have a little sort of a general warm-up chat and for maybe 15-20 minutes, and then we'll get into these subjects, and then we'll have every half hour or 25 minutes we'll have a question session. So if you got a question, and I'll just actually, if you just bear with me 1 second, I've been doing some pre-work. Look, I'm doing these banners where I'm giving you hints about things. Wow. So if you've got questions, please say question. And if we ignore you, we're not really ignoring you. We've just got engrossed in some tangent or other, probably. It might be a tangent to do with something really important. You know what I mean? From Shadow Headquarters, I've got my orders. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all very shadowy.
The T-shirt I should have bought at Telford, but unfortunately they didn't bring any stock, the silly twits. But anyway. And we're just getting to talking about, why don't we just start off with asking people, anybody who's shout up, because we'll have a quick look at this just to get warmed up. Kits you got for Christmas? Who got anything interesting for Christmas? And I will start by saying I got one kit for Christmas. It's a special one, though. Are you ready for this, Jason? Can you guess what it is?
It's going to be a racing car, I reckon.
No,
Oh, all right, okay.
And it's one of the very, I'm told it's one of the very last from the lost art that came out in New Zealand, of the very final kits that came out.
Yeah.
Soon to be reviewed and then locked away forever into the darkest of dark warehouses where it'd be very safe. So what else did people get? What about you, Jason? You say you got one kit, did you say?
No, I've had nothing model related this year for Christmas. Yeah, nothing at all. I've got some stuff coming up in the new year, which we was talking about over Christmas, which is interesting, and we might touch on it if we've got time later on. But I actually got nothing for Christmas that was modelling related. My stuff was tools for the kitchen. So I got a new blender and some bits and pieces, all stuff I'd asked for. But yeah, nothing modelling related this year. But some people think my stash is big enough, strangely.
A blender, that sounds like the sort of thing the mob might say.
I might use it standing if it's rubbish. Can I just make a point here as well? Because you did depict me as Al Capone. I have no issues with my taxes. Everything is good.
Are you sure about that?
Well, you know.
You know, under this it's a movable feast, isn't it, to be honest?
Well, it's all changing again this year. So us people that are generating a small, modest income from YouTube will have to watch out because the tax laws are changing.
Okay. Interesting. Yes, it's unfortunate I branded you like you were the bad guy. It wasn't really intentional. Unfortunately, on the artwork for that movie, they didn't have Sean Connery with equal billing. Otherwise, you'd have been Sean Connery. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
Somebody said to me this afternoon, it was Cyber Leader Andy, I think it was, and he said, he quoted from the film, he said, put one of ours in the hospital, we put one of yours in the morgue. And I said, yes, that's the Lancashire way. Because remember, I was born in Lancashire.
Yeah.
Right, anyway.
Whereas I live in Lancashire now, but was born in Cheshire, and you're living in Cheshire, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm just looking down what people have got for Christmas. Anything exciting? They're all saying get well soon, Mrs. O. Is limping around at the moment. Didn't think you were a T-shirt, Mr. Oxley. No, well, I'll be on my T-shirt on Monday when I'm doing Kits of the Year. I'll be in my proper channel T-shirt, of course. Anyway, without further ado, I'm just looking down at just people working on different kits. I thought you were from Yorkshire, says Steve's model build. How damn dare you? It's all right, folks. He's from Canada. You have to forgive him. He doesn't know the difference. Northern accent, and he thinks everybody's a Yorkshireman, you know. We won the 100 Years' War, Steve. I just want to point this out. But anyway. Oh, I probably just offended half of the viewers. But anyway. Right, anyway, swiftly getting on. So, first thing to talk about is our 2020. Well, before we go into 2026, I'm just going to slightly change the order and say, Jason, what were your highlights and lowlights of the year before we go to 26?
Yes, it's a really interesting question, actually, because I didn't buy a lot of kits last year because I think there wasn't a lot speaking to me last year. So I'm saying last year, but in 2025, it's still 2025, isn't it? So yeah, so I've not got a lot of kits to sort of look at and go, which one was the best? I thought the whole year was a bit flat for me, but I've had a bit of a strange journey this year where I've suddenly got interested in building model cars which have never interested me. So it might have just been a bit of a general plastic modeling mojo issue, but quite clearly the low light for me was the Stalwart, and not for the reasons that you might think. Not because the kit itself came to people in a way that it absolutely shouldn't have done. But for me, Airfix every year have been building on a better foundation and have improved year on year. And 2025 was all set to be their best year ever. We had the Jaguar, which is definitely one of the highlights of the year. And I'm not a jet aircraft guy, but I thought that was an absolutely stonking kit. For me, the 124-109 slightly tops it, but you could easily say that, they're in the same level. But if the Stalwart hadn't come out, I would say that Airfix had probably their best year ever, but the Stalwart wrecked it. So I was disappointed for Airfix because of the Stalwart and what it did to their reputation. And maybe we might come back to that later on. So that was definitely a low light for me. I think that the highlight for me is actually a kit that I've still not got that's on pre-order, which is the 1:350 scale HMS Royal Oak, which I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on. So that's imminent. Some people have got it. I haven't. So that's a highlight before I've even looked at it. But yeah, I think getting into American muscle cars as model kits has been the big new thing for me. So yeah, I think that was it.
Interesting. I wouldn't disagree with you about the Stalwart. There was something I actually watched it. I think yesterday I accidentally fell back into one of your videos from the start of the year, maybe about March, I think it was, and you were saying you've been to Bolton and it looked absolutely amazing. And then I think when it came out, there were one or two things that perhaps weren't that apparent on the example at Bolton, which I didn't see. So I didn't have the advantage you had. When they announced it in January, I almost went into orbit because they announced two of the three things that I was dreaming of: the Jaguar and the Stalwart. The other one would have been a Hurricane in 24 scale. But I thought 2 out of 3, I'll take it. You know what I mean? And I was so pleased. And the Stalwart, the pictures I saw from Bolton that you referred to, it looked amazing. For me personally, I think that it was. This is like they say, lightning doesn't strike twice, but I'm afraid it did for me this year, didn't it? We'll get more into this later, maybe. But yeah, first of all, the Stalwart, which I think I had probably your example was bad, but mine looked even worse. In fairness, even worse. And then they sent me a new example. Now I paid for the Stalwart; it wasn't a free kit or anything. And they sent me a new example, and I was just so disappointed in the context, as you've already alluded to. The Jaguar arrived in April, and it was absolutely fantastic, and it was exactly what I was hoping for, and I was absolutely chuffed to bits. And anyone who thinks I'm anti-Airfix, I just say to you, go and watch my review of the Jaguar, because you'll see that that's not the case at all. Dreams answered, box ticked. Absolutely, I always thought this is, and then the Stalwart was due in about 5-6 weeks. I was thinking, it doesn't get any better than this, really. It's just going from strength to strength. And then there were some design choices on the kit. We'll go into the details now, but one or two design choices. But the quality of the one I had was one of the worst I think we saw on YouTube. It was just terrible. And then they sent me a second one that had still got 2 or 3 major issues, but different ones, which is not what I was expecting. That I didn't see in the first kit. So in the end, there was, I think, 3 attempts where in the end Dale sent me 2 or 3 more final parts, because I said, don't send me another kit, just send me the bits I need. And he did. And the combination of that and some of the ITA resin stuff, and I've now got, it's actually over my shoulder. Can you see? It's right over there, in fact. So I've actually now got a good one. So yeah, that was a bit of a blow. So my sort of expectations about Airfix going toward the yesterday was kind of neutralized a little bit, not positive or negative, thinking I wonder what will come next. And of course we had Telford, and what I saw at Telford just blew my mind, quite frankly. I met you and Jeff there, and you and Jeff and 1 or 2 other people came up to me and said, is it going to be made in the UK or is it going to be made in India? And I said, it's India. And it's like, oh, there's a bit of a groan amongst us, And I said, no, it'll be fine because I've seen it. It's absolutely fine. Well, I think they've spoken too soon, unfortunately.
My comment on that is, I had a good look at this Stalwart, at Telford that they had on display, which must be the same one that was at Bolton. And it has none of the production issues that I got in the kit and again in the replacement kit. So I still don't have a decent stalwart. I still have one with loads of sink and short shot issues and all sorts of stuff. And that's the disappointing thing for me. If I can't think of another manufacturer where I have a question mark in my head, is it going to be okay? If I buy a Tamiya kit, I'm not worried about, is it going to be okay? Because if there was something wrong with it, it would be a surprise. If I was buying an ICM kit, if I was buying a Men kit, a TACOM kit, whoever it is, if there's an issue, I'm surprised. But if it's Airfix, I'm almost 50-50. And that's the bit that Airfix need to get over. And, you know, everyone complains about the issue being India. The issue is Airfix. Airfix owns the supplier. Airfix manages the supplier. It's with Airfix. And that was the disappointing thing, because they're actually doing some really great work and bringing out kits that people actually want. And just, you know, disappointing people, that damages your brand, it damages your reputation. And I personally think that Airfix do a brilliant job of marketing, but they're not managing developing the brand particularly well, because they're not managing the issues that is damaging the reputation. That's, you know, my view. Everyone has got a slightly different view. And that was the disappointing thing with the Stalwart, not the kit itself. You know, I can sort the kit. I shouldn't have to, but I can sort it. The issue was, it's disappointing to see Airfix flying so well, and then they shoot themselves in the foot like that. They should never have gone to market those kits. And when you've got a senior person in Airfix saying on a different YouTube channel, in an interview, that they can't check them all, I thought, well, is that what Toyota says? You know, well, can't check every car, you know. Is that what other manufacturers say? Can't check everything that goes out? Of course you can. You just don't want to. That's a different thing. So yeah, that was the low light for me, because I'm a big Airfix fan, and I think they did themselves no good with how they handled the Stalwart, the fact that the Stalwart came out at all in that state. So yeah, the highlight for me though is definitely that we have announced the HMS Surprise coming out from Vanguard Models, which won't be of interest to you, Peter, as it's a wood one.
I do like Master and Commander though.
Yeah, well, if you love Master and Commander, you're going to love it. It's coming out first quarter of next year, and I will be building it. So yeah, that's definitely my highlight, and could well be my highlight for next year as well. But yeah, there you go.
Interesting. Well, I've got to go and say my views and yours are genuinely very similar.
Yeah.
For me, it's even worse, because I got a bad 109, and not just a bad one, but probably, again, I don't know how this happens to me, but I must have got the worst one we've seen on YouTube. Phil Flores was bad, but mine was worse. The wing on mine, not only was it like a seagull, but it actually had this kind of a corkscrew effect in it as well, like it had been twisted. People I know there's been a lot of chatter about people saying, oh, it's just the fact they packed them in this box. And by the way, if you actually look behind me, you can actually see I've got it here. I'm the Jaguar, and it's I didn't do this deliberately. This is purely accidental, but I noticed when I put them up here and put the lights on, I thought, have you not noticed? Look at the size of the boxes. Something very strange. Here we've got a 48 scale Jaguar, which is a great kit. And here we've got the 109, which some kits are great, some are not. But it looks tiny, the box by comparison.
Well, there's two things to say about Airfix packaging, actually, in 2026. Certainly with the 109, the packaging is wrong. The box is too small for the contents. When I cut the tape off, my box top actually moved itself up, because all the parts have been compressed. So it's like they pushed it down and taped it down. So that was the first thing. I have had replacement decals, no issues from Airfix. So my decals that were damaged have been replaced, and they handled it very professionally, and I'm very happy with the service I got. But I cut all my extra bags off, because they're in these big bags that are then folded over. I cut all that spare plastic off and I still can't get the lid down. So someone's got a calculation wrong somewhere in that. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is the packaging is actually getting thinner. So I've got the newly released Bulldog that came out just a week or so ago. And the box lid is thinner than the last Bulldog box that I bought last year. And it's already starting to be, it's so flimsy, it's already starting to crush, even just packed in the box delivered to me. So there's a lot of cost cutting going on with Airfix. I'm sure that's driven by the situation with the parent company, with Hornby. But that's another thing that is going to damage them if they're not careful, because packaging is more important to us than it's ever been because of how we buy kits now. And I'm just a bit concerned that Airfix are starting to wrong foot themselves for the right reasons, if that makes sense.
I think one of the issues is that box, if you check, is the same dimensions as it was for the Spitfire.
Correct, yeah.
In other words, they're trying to standardise it, and I think that's what's happened here. But the actual box itself, I agree with you, it seems very, very flimsy. It's almost... I know I slightly moaned about the new Revell Meteor. That was kind of the same. It was very thin and flimsy, even though it had a lift-up box, which we're pleased to see. But yeah, now there's something I haven't told anybody yet. I actually wrote to Airfix just before Christmas, to Dale and to Andy, the quality QC manager, and I actually asked them in an email, very friendly email, in which I said a lot of positive things, especially about the 109, but asked them specifically about what had happened and said, can you tell me what you're going to do in the future that will prevent any repetition of this scenario happening again? And I've had no answer. They didn't get out of office, so I don't think they were on holiday, and it went to both of them. So I'm a bit slightly disappointed, but a bit puzzled about that, because I was hoping they'd come back and said, I mean, Dale was when I spoke to him at Telford, he didn't want to tell me too much, which I can understand that to a degree. Even though I said, if you tell me and it's confidential, it will remain confidential completely. But so several of you will know that I've been told things in the past that I've kept very stum about. But anyway, he hasn't come back to me. Whether they've just, I don't know whether they've gone on holiday early, but I would have thought they'd gone out of office if that was the case. But it's a bit worrying that I didn't get a response, because I didn't get anything at all back from them. And it was an opportunity. I actually said I would be very happy, given that I was the bad guy, wasn't I? And the whole of the industry, I was the one that got the worst example. Phil Flores, I think he got his on the same day, but he didn't open it for a couple of days until after I'd done mine. But his was very similar. And initially I was like, Satan. It's like people were treating me like I was the Antichrist, And it was like the little boy in The Emperor's New Clothes, the one that says, well, it's garbage, the quality's terrible. That's not acceptable. And the whole world rained, abuse down on me, frankly. And I'm sorry about that. We'll get into this in a second, perhaps later. But I'm not going to change. And I think that what I said was correct. And I was actually very relieved that Phil Flory got his. But at the same time, very disappointed, because I thought maybe I did get just a rogue one. But as you said, and I think this goes back to what you were saying a few minutes ago, and I actually said in the email to these guys, and I said, it's very vexing for me that I got 2 out of the 3 kits from Airfix, their big releases this year. 2 out of the 3 were very poor quality. I mean, some of the worst we've seen. One was perfect, the Jaguar, over my shoulder, and the other 2 weren't. And even when they sent me the new one in November to replace for this is actually, that is the new one, the better one. It still isn't great. It's still got some issue, 1 or 2 of the sprues, not as extreme, but and I'm not talking about warp sprues. I'm talking about actual warp parts here. The one of the horizontal stabilizers at the back has really got a warp, and it's not very big, obviously, about this big. But it's still not perfect. The one that this is what happened with the Stalwart. So I was sent a replacement. The Stalwart, remember, I paid for, so that wasn't about freebies or anything. And it was just still not good. And people are saying, I read some stuff on the internet yesterday where people were saying, One guy said, who obviously doesn't know me or you, and he said, I won't put it past him if this guy, he obviously hasn't watched it, this guy didn't, warp it a bit more for effect to get some views. Well, if you'd watched the review of me opening it fresh and opening the bags fresh, you can see that they came in those enormous bags,
Well, we're gonna talk about honesty and integrity later on, so we'll come back to that topic. But one of the issues, as I understand it, that Airfix have created for themselves this year is they've moved to the Indian factory, packing the boxes and then putting them into shippers, so they're sealed. So when they're received in the UK, they can be sent straight out and there doesn't have to be any continuation of the packing process. So you'll notice that that your kits recently have been coming in shippers that are the exact fit of the model. That's happening in India. So they're relying purely on the Indian factory for its quality control, which historically, time and time again, we keep seeing fails. So why do you put a process in that makes it harder for you to check on your weak point? I don't understand why they're not in the process, maybe they are, why they're not in a process of moving away from that manufacturer. Because my day job is procurement, and I've done procurement for 30 years. And if I was procurement head of Airfix, I absolutely would have found a different manufacturer by now. I would not be putting up with that. All the tooling's in China, and they're sending it to India. Find a manufacturer in China and get rid of the Indians. That's my view. I just think it's wrecking the company for them. But there you go.
Especially on the flagship product. I think that's the thing that's surprising. You can understand. I mean, I don't know if you guys, if any of you are aware, but it's this company in India, Microplastic Industries, and they've got, I think, 4 sites. They've got 4 enormous factories. I mean, they are big. And Dale had already told me about this in some detail already, but so I think there's 4 sites, and they are just the most enormous factories, and each site is more than one building, And historically, they were doing these the vintage classics and things like that. There's a lot of their sort of not new production that goes on there, and if you buy a vintage classic, yes, okay, you would expect that. I think, though, going back to your point a second ago, why? And this was the point that you and Jeff and several other people said to me, "Oh, you've seen it. You actually had it in your hands. Where's it made?" And this is the burning question that everybody. And I was like, "Well, it's India," and they were like, "No," and I was saying, "No, it'll be fine. I've seen it. It's great quality." What a mistake of a maker. Oh,
yeah.
Anyway. But the fact is, they had a better site for their premium product, which was Plastech in New Haven. And if you read some of the comments on I think it's on my original review, the one that went really horribly wrong, everything was like a la la la, loving me and Airfix. I love the instructions. I love the color call outs and the preparation. Everything was fantastic, apart from the packaging, until we actually opened the plastic bags. But several people, 2 people, and one person claims he spoke to, I think he said a gentleman called Mark. I may have got that wrong, but he spoke to a gentleman who is the boss at Plastech, he said, and he said that allegedly, don't be suing me on this, I'm just quoting what's been written. It's been written, it's still there, that comment somewhere. And he said, allegedly, Airfix didn't even ask Plastech to quote for this one, which is surprising, because they did such a nice job of it on the Spitfire. That's surprising me, really.
They did make the point that when they made the Spitfire in the UK, that it was a nice story to make it in the UK, and I have to agree with Airfix on the point they made. They said it's a lot more expensive to make it in the UK, and right now they're pinching pennies. That's why boxes are getting thinner, and they're looking at different processes and stuff. So I understand them not making it in the UK. What I don't understand is when you've got a fault, why you're not tackling it. And it may be that they're going backwards and forwards and having lots of quality conversations. The problem is, over the years, it still doesn't appear to make the difference. At some point, you've got to cut your losses and go, this doesn't work for us. So they're never going to move manufacturing to the UK. From time to time, I get people saying to me they should just move their manufacturing to the UK. It's never going to happen. It's too expensive. It's not profitable for them. If you want Airfix to go under, that's the way to go. Bring your manufacturing to the UK.
I agree. But this is their Halo flagship product. Beautifully designed, very, very well conceived. I did have one or two issues, but overall, brilliantly conceived.
Yeah.
All the instructions, the artwork, and got everything right. Margate got everything right on this model.
Yeah.
I said to him in several emails, including the last one, when I asked them to explain what they're going to do in the future, and I've had no answer. It's a quantum leap forward for them, and then they put it in the hands of these people to save about a £5 or maybe £4 or something, you know. I'd paid it. If you'd have said to me, without telling me, if you'd have said to me, how much do you think this kit is worth on the open market? The only issue I really had with that kit, I moaned about this thing with the exhaust, which is a bit weird. I'm sure somebody got something a bit confused about which way around the slide mill it should be. But the only other issue was the very big ejector pins and the fact that I did have a piece here to show you, but you know where you've got the open, like I've got on my Tamiya version, the open bonnet, so to speak, on the cowling on the engine, which pivots. It's got hinges down the centre. There's no hinges either, by the way, which is really weird, which is on the Tamiya 2 scales down, you know. But I'd have said to him, I think it's worth about, honestly, I would have been surprised if he'd said to me, if it was like multiple choice and he said, is it 90 quid? Is it 100 quid? Or do you think it should be 110 quid? What's it worth? I would have said 110 pounds. Now, this is where we get into this psychological pricing thing, which if you've ever been in sales and marketing, you know that people have got these fixations about price. But when you see the leap forward in the quality of those instructions and all the work that's gone into the detail and the history, it's worth £110. If it was made in plastic, that's my view.
And I agree. That's another challenge for Airfix, that it appears, and obviously we don't really know, you know, that we're just looking from the outside in and drawing conclusions. But it appears that Airfix continues to want to have a mass pocket money appeal with their kits. And so they keep them at a lower price point. I suspect it's why they don't generally put photo etching and stuff like that, because it raises the cost of the kit and they want to keep the kit cost down. But the people that buy model kits are a different age group now than back in the 70s when we were kids. We were kids buying kits. When you look at the demographic of people that are buying kits, it's now a hobby that's changed to young, middle-aged and over, and they're the people with more disposable income. And so even though we've all got different budgets, people will pay that little bit more for the right kit, for a perfect kit. So I completely agree with you, Peter. If they'd put the price up and you got a guarantee of quality, it would have been worth it. It's a difficult one for Airfix, and you know, I feel like they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't, because lots of people complained about the cost of the 148 Buccaneer when it came out and were saying, "What, 70 quid? That's a lot of money." But you look at how much
74 quid. It was from India, though. That was the problem. It was 77 quid.
But there was no. In that instance, there was no issue with where it was made because there was no issue with the kit. If you'd bought that from Tamiya, it probably would have cost more, but then you would have had probably some photo etch in it, and you'd have definitely had masks in it, and so on and so forth. But people would have bought it even though it costs more. So I think there's a couple of things going on with Airfix that they need to think about. In my view, quality control. Everyone says it. It's the consistency that's the issue. You just don't know whether it's going to be a good kit or not, and does the price really matter?
55 quid, 55, 59 pounds.
Yeah,
same scale as the Buccaneer, also made in India. Perfect. like the Buccaneer was, but this is my point I was making, really. That's cheaper than the Buccaneer. Maybe a fraction complex, maybe a fraction less complex, but significantly cheaper, 15, 20% cheaper, and yet made in the same place. So I think the Buccaneer was a bit overpriced.
Yeah. The thing is, someone's just mentioned stirring the pot. I'm passionate about Airfix. Airfix is a brand I grew up with. It's a British company, and I want them to succeed. And I get very frustrated when I see things which I think are easily avoidable happen, and they're not resolving it. It's not good enough to send me replacement decals because I've had damaged decals, and then in the next kit there's another issue, and then the next kit there's another issue. That's not good enough. They need to be sorting the issues so they go away and don't come back. That's what Airfix is not managing. And you can't keep blaming the Indian factory, because the Indian factory is employed by Airfix. And you can't say that Airfix do a great job of designing it and a great job of researching it and come out with the great kits, but they get let down by India. They get let down by themselves because they're the people using India. So if it genuinely is an Indian manufacturing problem, sort it so it never comes back. It's very simple.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It smacks to me of they just keep on trusting them. They must get assurances that are just that. I know one person, I don't know if you saw this, I think it was on my second video about the 109 when I got the replacement, which was better, of course. But somebody said, very harshly in fairness, but said, if you look on the website of this company, Microplastic Industries, they say they've got ISO 9001, they've got British standards, this, that, and the other. And he said they must have bought those on eBay. Not my words, folks. That's what this guy. It's still there. That comment on one of my videos, and it's like, because they're not rigidly sticking to it. You can say you've got ISO 9001 the day that the inspector's in, but if the next day the inspector's gone, you say. And I have personal experience of this when I worked for a foils company who had a Chinese manufacturer that they actually owned. And it was an incredible situation where they would constantly, I mentioned this to Dale, they would constantly have this quality problem whereby they'd send their guy over, the production manager from Scotland would go across, and he'd spend 3 weeks there, and he'd get them back on track, using the product in the right way and training the people up, and it was suddenly the quality went up to 99% perfect. And then he'd go back on the 4th week, get in his car, go to the airport, and within about 5 to 6 days, the quality just dropped off a cliff again. And it kept on happening. And in the end, they sold this business. They said they just can't manage it without physically living there, And I suspect it's a similar scenario. I suspect it is.
I think you're probably right. I've visited many manufacturers and different suppliers over the years, and I've worked in manufacturing for a long time. So I could tell you some stories that would absolutely, tell you for now, you'd never get in an actual aeroplane again if I told you some of the stories I've seen with making aircraft when I worked in that industry. But so it does go on, and I think it must be very frustrating for Airfix, because obviously they don't want to give you a kit that's substandard. They want you to be happy with the product. Of course they do. We get upset about it because we're passionate about it, and because we're passionate about the company. Having said what we've just said, most of what Airfix released this year was in good order and had no issues. But as my first boss said to me, and I'll paraphrase because it's a family show, you're only as good as your last mistake. And that's what you focus on. We don't focus on all the stuff that's good. And one of the things that I will be focusing on next year is trying to be more positive and making sure that we are highlighting the things that are done well rather than just focusing on the negative. But it's very difficult to ignore it when you're given you spend 40 quid on a kit and you open it up and it looks like the Stalwart did.
Well, or £100 in the case of the 109 that I had. I didn't spend £100. I got that one as a sample. But if I had spent £100, I'd have been even more cross. And I was very, very livid, as everybody knows, and people said I overreacted and all the rest of it. Some people said, "Oh, well, you got it free. I don't know why you're getting your knickers in a twist." Well, I'm sorry, but lots of people watching this show tonight also paid for that, and they got similar quality to me. I'm not saying majority. Many of them got problem ones, and several of them put it in the chat and said, "Mine's cut, mine's bad as well." Now that is just not good enough, and this is why I have my chair in this position tonight, because of what you just said, Jason. Positivity, negative, positivity. So
yeah,
when Airfix are good, they are epic.
Yeah, and you've got to remember that they're never going to be a Rolls-Royce brand. That's not where they sit. They're a mass production, make money on volume rather than on high ticket items. So they've got a business model to follow, and generally they do a very, very good job of it. I just think someone in the chat I noticed asked if Airfix are a bit tied with Hornby. Inevitably, yes. Inevitably they are. It'd be interesting to see what Airfix would do if there was a management buyout and they weren't part of the Hornby group. But yeah, they will be having to look at cost savings. They will be having to look at how they keep cash in the business and all of that sort of stuff. And that is going to affect the decisions that they make, which means they won't be moving away from India because it's cost effective for them when it's right. And we'll continue to see things like the packaging changes and that sort of stuff that drive costs down. Because you sell 10,000 model kits and you save 2p on each one. That's a lot of income.
I would say to you though that when you've got the head of brand and the head designer sitting selecting a kit for me because of the disastrous quality, not just for me but others, Phil Flory I'm sure as well. I don't know whether he's done a replacement, I don't know, but that's not a good use of their time. And I made this point in my email to them and said what I thought the 109 was one of the best ever designs, and how disappointing it must be for them to have done everything correctly in Margate, yeah, and then to have this situation again, Yeah. I mean, the other element we should just cover quickly is the fact that in my case, obviously having the appalling example I had again, was that several people have said, watching this show, I'm sure, have said, well, you think they'd have the nous to make sure that someone like you or Jason or Phil Flory, who are going to tell it like it is, I'm afraid, that those people of all would have got a good example. And I was like, well, I'm frustrated it's the same person, me, that's got 2 out of 3 of them a disastrous example. But it is also good that it ends up in the hands of someone who will, I don't know, I was going to say that will highlight it. But we don't want them to go out of business. We don't want them to suffer because of this. But they need to address the problem. And this is the core of the whole story, really. At the end of the day, it needs addressing on a QC front.
I think my final word on this would be it's tough love, because it is. We love Airfix, and as you say, when they do it right, they do a stonking good job of it. I have a lot of affection for Airfix. I want to see them do really, really well. But if we don't hold them to task on the things that they're not doing well, they will continue to do it and think it's okay. The customer accepts that. And they have to put the customer first. You've got to put your consumer first, because they are your business. If your consumer drifts off to other brands because they're not putting up with the poor quality that's coming out of your brand, you've got a problem. So it's our duty to be honest. And you were given that kit, and you could have chosen to ignore some of the faults or dumb down some of the faults and just highlight the good detail that's in there. Whereas I bought my kit and I've said, yeah, it has got warped sprues, but it's not affecting the parts. So I think we've both approached it with integrity. You've got a poor kit. I've managed to dodge a bullet, which is good because I've paid for mine. But we need to be honest with them.
Andrew just made a good point. He says, if the Buccaneer, Jaguar and the Lysander came out of the same factory, then the factory isn't the problem, the quality control is. But I think, as Jason has indicated, the problem is they have subcontracted the QC to that factory, it seems, because we know they're not doing it locally.
Yeah.
So that is the issue. It is the factory. It's the QC at the factory. There's no check. There's no check between it being produced and it leaving. We don't know that for sure, but it certainly seems like that based on the performance, doesn't it?
Well, if they are checking and they are doing it to an ISO standard and they've got quality ISO standards in, then I would expect that Airfix get their money back and don't pay for it and say, right, these are faulty, get it. But that's not helping Airfix. I mean, financially, it's making sure that everything's okay. But its reputation and the reputation of the brand. And if I was brand manager at Airfix, I would be fuming that we have these issues and they continue. Absolutely would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's penalty clauses, isn't it? Again, I've been in businesses where...
Well, you can't have penalty clauses anymore.
They pay,
Yeah.
Pay.
Yeah.
They would pay so hard that they wouldn't ever do it again. And the problem is, it's like there's too much trust and there's not enough consequences, I suspect, from what we're seeing,
Yeah. Well, it's for Airfix to manage. They now have our view. That's for sure. Shall we change topic?
Let's move on. So, neatly segueing into the next topic, which is, how important is it to the people watching and the viewers and subscribers of both our channels? How important is it that you do get a quality review that is reliable, honest, accurate, factual, without relevance to, whether somebody has bought it? I mean, people see my channel. I do a lot of kits that are loaned, often brand new kits. Several of you loan them to me. So I get loan kits, I get given kits, ICM and sometimes Airfix, maybe not too many more. But Litaki, and same with Jason, he gets these kits sent in. It's how important is it that we don't, exactly what he just alluded to a second ago, that we don't just turn a blind eye and say, well, we don't want to upset whoever it is, and I can think of 4 or 5 that supply me with stuff. We don't want to say the wrong thing. And I've had this conversation with especially some of the viewers that have loaned them to me, and I've said, I have this ongoing joke. I send out this clip from Sherlock Holmes where he's having to go at archery. I don't know if you've seen this, Jason. When he's having to go at archery, there's this clip where he says, well, I'm afraid that my conclusions may not be as you so desire. And I often send this to people and they oh, it's not going to end well, this review, is it? So they know it's not going to go too well. But what do you think? What do you all think? What do the viewers think? First of all, what's your take on this? Because I think there's a few people that seem to be very, I won't say loose morals, that might be too strong, but that are willing to turn a blind eye to things they shouldn't turn a blind eye to. And they're not calling out manufacturers. And I'm not just talking about Airfix now, I'm talking about others as well. I mean, everybody knows I get these ICM kits. I've also written to ICM recently, and I've questioned them about the new decals. Are they from Edward or not? And I'm, in fairness, I think I was a bit late sending my email out, so I'm sure they'll come back to me in the new year. But I also asked about the instructions, which I gripe about a little bit more and more. I think the problem they've got, we know that they've got serious staff problems for the reasons we all know. But the gripe remains that we would like in the Hamden, a beautiful kit, but lacking in some details it could really do with. A bit of that Airfix instruction quality in the Hamden would have make it just absolutely perfect, frankly. So I've made that point to them, and saying, what's the situation? And I've also asked them, are you going to do what Airfix and Revell have done and supply masks in the future? And I'm saying all this now, I'm not giving Jason a chance to speak just yet, because I want you to understand the background. I get those for free. I could just be quiet and just keep taking the freebies. It's not about that for me. I enjoy reviewing the product and being seen to be as truthful and open and honest. I do miss things. I'm not perfect. I often miss things, but I try and get it right as best I can. And if I see things I'm not entirely happy with, I'll say it. And I think that's important. What do you think, Jason?
Well, I'm gonna come at this from a slightly different angle. So my hobby is building models. Making the videos is something that has been secondary to building the models. But I'm now at a point where I have a channel at a size where more people are starting to contact me and say, hey, would you like to promote our products? And so it's very easy as a channel to get sucked into that. And it depends really on, I don't think it's your moral point of view as to what it is you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to get out of having your channel. Now, for me, the channel is following my hobby, but I know that there's people that watch my videos and they see things that they perhaps fancy trying themselves, techniques, that sort of stuff. They see reviews of kits and decide, I think I'm going to buy that. They see a review of an airbrush and they think, you know what, I might go and buy that. So I feel I have a responsibility to be honest, because people are going to make decisions with their money because of what I've said. So I would really struggle to say this airbrush is the best airbrush in the world if I thought it was a load of junk, because I know people are going to go and spend their money and inevitably someone's not going to be happy and that's going to come back to me. So I don't want to be in that position first and foremost, but also I've been in that position myself where I've taken on face value what someone said, and then I've gone and spent my money on something and it's been a load of junk and it wasn't a cheap item. So I get it from both sides. So for me, integrity is the most important thing, and that's important because of what I increasingly do. So I've had a number of companies approach me and I've refused to deal with their products because I know the products aren't good enough. So I've had budget airbrush companies, Chinese airbrush companies contact me. I've had people that want me to promote heat pumps and stuff that's not relevant to the channel, and they all get turned down. Everyone that watches my channel knows that I actually agreed to build a wooden model ship for Angora Models, and when I got the first pack, I took a review of it and said, no, I'm not even going to do the video on it, and I sent it back to them, and I told people in my table talk video that I'd received the pack, I'd had a look at it, decided it wasn't value for money for people, and that I didn't want people to be aware of the product through me. So I sent it back and said, no, I'm not interested. So that's me trying to filter with my integrity what comes out through the channel. So this here is a Vanguard Models boat. I actually finished it today. I do get their kits for free now, but most of what you've seen me review on the channel I've paid for, and you know, including the Indefatigable, which was £1,300, I paid for it. I now get the kits passed to me for the purposes of review, and I consider a review very different to a promotion, and I'm happy to discuss the nuances of the differences if you want, but it's always on the understanding that I can say what I want, and I can say the positives and I can say the negatives. I just tend to review products and tools and that I sort of believe in. So I do a lot of work with Gallery, and everyone knows with Gallery I get given the items for review, and you know, I give people a link, people can get a percentage off, and I get a small percentage back on the sales. I'm open about that, but I do say what I genuinely feel. Now, this particular airbrush, there has been a manufacturing issue with the first 1 or 2 batches. I'm not sure how many airbrushes that affects, but you know, they've been open and honest about it. They've done a video about it. They've said, this is the issue. Contact us. We will sort it free of charge. We will give you a new airbrush. We'll give you £200 worth of spare parts to upgrade your airbrush. Whatever it is you want, we will solve it for you. And for me, that's fine, because I've had no issues with mine, except for I might have bent my needle, but I think that's down to me and not down to them. So if I think something's rubbish, you might not see the video in the first place. I just might not do it. I'm about in 2026. You're going to see me promote. You're going to see me talking about a brand of products a lot more. A UK manufacturer of modelling products. But they've been around 15 years, and I've been using them for at least 12, 13 years. So I know the products really well. I've spent a lot of time talking to them to say, look, this is what I will do and this is what I won't do. So it's all about setting it up. They want me to promote the products by using them and all of that sort of stuff, but I already am. So what I've said to them is I don't promote, but I'll review. So I'll review a product. I'll say, this is what it does. This is what I think of it. This is how the bottle comes. This is how it's packaged. This is how much it's cost. It's up to you to decide whether you want to spend your money on it. I'm just making you aware of the product. And the trouble with all of these products and tools is there's now such a wide variety of brands for each one that you can't review them all. So I can't say this is better than all the others, because you've got to test all the others to say that. So for me, it's really important, and I will kick back on products that I think modelers shouldn't be buying, and I won't show them. And I never promote. I only ever review. And I think honesty is the most important thing, regardless of whether you think you'll get more freebies out of it or not. I'm not really interested in the freebies, because if I need something, I can afford to go and buy it, or the channel can afford to go and buy it. So it's not about making sure I get the next free kit. And I guess that's similar with you, Peter, with ICM, because you've got an ongoing agreement. So you can also afford to feel like there's no handcuffs on you, is what you can say, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. And they know me well enough. They're probably watching. I don't know if they're watching this tonight, but they know me well enough that if I see something I think is absolutely awful, it's going to be said, you know. Luckily, they don't make things that are awful, and they don't have inconsistencies in the quality. They just have it's nuances that, you know. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect either, but I get the feeling from them they're a bit unique in that I'm pretty sure that some of the people that they had working for them are not probably working for them right now. So it's difficult. You don't want to push too hard in a scenario like that, of course. But the point is, nobody's above criticism, me included. Yeah. I get lots of criticism for silly mistakes I make, or even the last few days I did the Tomcat video, and there's been 2 or 3 little glitches on the hand, and I think there's been 2 or 3 technical glitches, historical glitches. It's not a problem. They are errors I've made, and I'm quite happy to entertain those. People comment in the right way, and they say, actually, you've got this wrong. It's like, okay, thank you for the info. Thanks for updating us and correcting me. That's absolutely no problem at all. And that's what it should be like with everything. It's like the manufacturers. Let's not hide the problem. Let's not send the kit back and get the parts replaced. I mean, I had the issue with the ICM Bradley. It was actually a Revell kit, wasn't it? Tooling, but on the first one they sent out, I just looked, one of the screws was just missing, which is unique, really, in my experience. So I blame Revell for that. I even said that to them. But they were brilliant. They just said, oh, sorry about that. We'll send you another one next month. And they duly did. Yeah. And it's all fine. But why hide it? How can you trust someone that you know will do that? And we know somebody said this about me recently. Why didn't you just keep quiet and go back to the manufacturer, get it fixed, and shut your mouth sort of thing. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Is that where we are? Is that what you're about? Yeah. And I just think there's a values and ethics thing here. And I worked for 2 companies that were in the American Fortune 500 financial system over in Wall Street. And I had to have annual values and ethics training, which was really tough, I've got to be honest, where they talked about potential bribes and all sorts of things, you know. So I had it drilled into me long ago. And I didn't actually need it, because I wouldn't have strayed beyond. It was actually fairly easy to answer these questions. But if you're not built that way and you think it's great, I'm getting some free stuff here, well, you know, I've even said in one of my previous videos that I'm quite happy for manufacturers to send me stuff and I'll return it to them, you know. If they'll cover the cost of the postage, I'll reseal stuff, I'll send it back to them. I don't need a freebie. I'm more interested in the product. I want to see it, I want to feel it and show it to people. That's my beyond the modeling itself, of course, but that's my joy in the previewing and reviewing of kits. I'm not trying to grift to get free stuff, and I think that other people seem to have lost sight of that, and I think they're just, what's the word? They've become advocates, haven't they? Really, almost like paid advocates, paid as in free stuff, you know. And I think that is, it's not just in modeling, and we're not just about, you know, any manufacturer or models here. As you said, I've had 5 offers this year. One was from an air freshener manufacturer. One was from a music, what do you call it? A music, one of these music companies on the internet, streaming music. And I've had 5 or 6 offers of the most, like you, of the most stupid things. And I thought, I'm not interested, really. That's got nothing to do with me. I've got no passion for it or interest in it whatsoever.
So just for the benefit of our viewers who don't have a channel, some of you who have got channels might have experienced this. What happens is you'll get an email, and it will start with how wonderful they think your channel is, and really love your content, and think that their product would be a really great match, and they'd love to talk to us. And talk to me about me promoting their new boiler. I even had one email that, and then you look and you can see you're blind CC'd in. So they've sent this to hundreds, possibly thousands of people, just scattergun to see who will take them up. So
it's what we used to call in sales. We used to call it spray and pray.
Yeah, and you know, so once you've got a channel of a certain size, you're seen as an influencer, and I think as a content creator, you have to take that with a degree of responsibility, because there are people on here, on YouTube, and not on other social medias, but I'm assuming it's the same on TikTok and everywhere else, that are in it for themselves, not in it for you. So what I always say is, take at face value what Peter says and I say and other people, but then go and check it with what other people say. And don't buy a kit or a tool or a modeling product or buy into a paint system or a Porsche or whatever it's going to be without seeing what 2 or 3 or 4 other people say, and get an understanding for yourself before you buy into anything. Someone put in the comments that maybe I should show the bad things as well. And, you know, if it's a product or a tool, yes, certainly, because it's a few quid. But the Angora models is over £1,000. And I wasn't going to build it because A, it was going to take up time on my channel, and B, I didn't believe in the product. There is a channel that builds iconic models out there. Forget the name of it. Something builds iconic models. He's building it. And what was disappointing for me was that Angora Models said, this is a top quality product and we're aiming to be the very, very best at what we've done. And they've teamed up with a manufacturer who's making it for them, because they're just a marketing company, really. Who is 9th out of the top 10 manufacturers. So it's all just trying to con you out of your money, just trying to persuade you to part with your money. And I won't partake in that. And, you know, Airfix have never sent me a free kit. They've sent you a free kit. I think that's the first time they've ever sent freebies out. I think it is. Or maybe
I have to make a what do you call it?
Go on.
Goods of interest. They sent me the Mark 8 Spitfire 2 years ago. 2 years ago,
right?
Which was
they don't do it very often, do they?
No.
Yeah. So most of the time you're commenting on something you've purchased, and I prefer to do it that way because then there's no comebacks on me. But it wouldn't be possible for me to purchase every Vanguard kit that came out when they're all 700 quid plus, for example. So, you know, there are limits to what you do. And most of my subscribers came from kit reviews. So to review kits, I've got to pay for them. So that's why you see a lot of channels do a lot of stuff with Airfix, because the kits are at the cheaper end, so you can get the volume through your channel. That's what it's all about. So be very, very careful. And when someone's saying it's rubbish and someone else is saying it's great, go and have a look at what other people are saying as well and get a general view. And as someone said, you can tell when someone's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Yes, you can if it's done clumsily, but not always. Sometimes you can be sucked in.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, indeed. It's a tricky one, isn't it? And I think we have to be careful because there are some people who, and I think this is the sort of final comment in this sort of subject in a way, or final part of the subject. There are people that seems to have institutional bias, and you wonder why. I'm not making any inferences or suggestions. Some people are just very passionate. I mean, I like Tamiya, make no mistake. I like ICM, I like Tamiya. You know, I quite like Meng, and I certainly like Airfix, despite what some people seem to think. But I am very open-minded. And one person said to me about 10 days ago, and he said, I think it was you that had it on your channel. You were talking about one of your themes was, do you have a brand loyalty? That was it, brand loyalty.
Yeah.
And somebody said to me, you have a loyalty, Peter Oxley. And I said, he said, to quality. And you are blind to the brand, country. You know, people think well, here's the summary. Let me just say this, because this is a very important one. Just remembered. That sums it up beautifully, I think. And you can still see this comment. If you go onto my post-Telford show review, I did 2 of them. I think it's the first one. And a guy had a right go at me, really aggressive, and he became actually quite abusive. He made 3 comments. His first comment is a really long one, which is still there for you to watch. And he has a real go at me, a really nasty go. And I left it there because he was basically saying, and I'll be careful, but I'll tread carefully with this. He basically says, you should go and join. He was defending Qatari. Right. And I had some misgivings about Qatari, not about the product, not about the quality, more about this uncertainty around the company, because they are quite a new company. And I can assure you, I love their product. I've got 3 or 4 of them now. I'm not sure. More to come soon. But I love the products, and I just wish they had engines in these World War II fighters. It's the only thing that disappoints me. Apart from that, I think they're fantastic. Really do. But I made these comments about the Halifax and saying, you've got to put this money up front. You've got to wait for 2 years. No, I've got some misgivings about this. And he put words in my mouth in his response, and he said, you've got no right to say this about a company. You're saying that they are dodgy fly-by-nights. They're going to take your money, and then they're going to go bust. And I won't tell you everything that you saw, but you can go see it. It was very rude indeed. And I put in my response, I didn't finish to get to the punchline. He said, you need to go and get yourself, you need to go and join a certain well-known YouTuber who is very pro-Airfix. You need to go and join him and get yourself an Airfix tattoo on your arm and become blood brothers. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know your backside from your elbow. And I wrote back and I said, well, you've completely misrepresented what I was saying. I just said I got some concerns And by the way, if anybody's watching, Chris Evans, one of the viewers, he's now been on to me and made a very interesting comment, which I made some notes about. He actually emailed me and said he met. There was a meeting with Mark Robson. He's the owner of Qatari, and they had a breakfast meeting on the Sunday after Telford, the second day of Telford. And he was laying everybody's fear, and he was very good, apparently. He gave a brilliant presentation, allegedly. And he said, basically, I'm very relaxed about it now. I think you should be fine. Don't worry about it. It's definitely going to happen. And I've got a far more confidence now because he was one of these people that signed up, and put the money up front. And he said, actually, I feel quite chilled about it. It's going to be fine. You're going to see the Hurricane, you're going to see the 109, then they're going to build this Thunderbolt, blah, blah, blah. But this guy said, basically, the critic, that I was an Airfix. Literally, you can go see this and you can see it yourself. An Airfix fanboy. Go and get yourself an Airfix tattoo and join that other YouTuber that we know about. He said, and just, yeah, that's where you belong. And then a week later, I'm, having to go about the 109. And it's like, can't win, can you, really? You just can't win. People try and pigeonhole you, whoever you are. And people can't handle it if you're critical of anything, if it offends their bias, if it offends their tribalism, if that's the right word. And this is very dangerous thinking to get into. We've got that in the world generally with politics and things like that. Try and keep an open mind, people. Try and keep an open mind, Anybody thinks I hate Airfix, you just don't know me, Yes, I preferred Matchbox in 1972. Well, that's all gone by the board. And Airfix today are, they have some brilliant designers. They've got a really good creative team with great ideas, great subject matter. And the latest product that I've had all this problem with was really brilliantly designed and conceived by them. Let down elsewhere, which is a thing, as Jason has said, for them to manage going forward. But doesn't it just show you cannot win if you're a creator? You are. I've got nothing against Qatari. I've got nothing against Airfix. If they produce a brilliant product, I'm going to love it.
And that's the same for me. I mean, I don't have a bias, but I have my point of view, but that's where it stops. It's my point of view. I don't expect everyone to agree with me. I don't necessarily expect anyone to agree with me, but it doesn't mean that I'm not entitled to have my point of view. Other people are entitled to their point of view. And the only time I remove somebody's comment is if they've used bad language or they've been offensive or they clearly are talking out of turn or without knowledge,
just trolling you.
And so unfortunately that's just par for the course, and I have let the trolls get under my skin a couple of times this year, and that's not going to happen next year because we're just going to be more positive all around, and I'll positively remove them.
I agree with you, and I just summarize by saying this guy, this pro Qatari defendant, just way too aggressive, and it's like I had another defender of Qatari. It was gentlemanly, factual, clear, and invested a stakeholder in their product. And he said to me things that I wanted to hear. And I said to him, Rabbi, it's great to hear that. And this guy that was abusive came back 2 more times. And the 2 more were deleted. I didn't delete his first one, even though he was really nasty. But the 2 further comments were so vile, I just cut him off at the knees and he will never return. But I didn't delete his original views because I thought, yes, okay, I need to respond to that. But I'm not going to delete him because he's an idiot. But it was clear, as you said, Jason, he was just going to, one of these people is just going to keep going. Yeah. And it's just, there aren't enough hours in the day to waste on people like that, unfortunately. And that's social media for you. But I thought it was important from my point of view, and I'm sure you get these too, where sometimes you have to leave them so that people can see that you're not just deleting them because you don't like it or they disagree with you. This guy was very, very aggressively disagreeing with me. That was fine. I corrected what he said and said, well, that's not what I actually said in my video. But anyway, blah, 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 blah. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's an interesting one. Let's move forward. So we've just been talking about honesty and integrity. And here's another angle, a different angle now on honesty and integrity, which is starting to worry me a lot, because I watch a lot of, I wonder what people think about this. I watch a hell of a lot of historical stuff on YouTube about World War II in particular, World War One as well, and earlier. And my concern is the amount of AI that's creeping in. Now, some people will tell you that I'm a bit of a dinosaur and I don't like technology. It's not strictly true. My wife bought me one of the most advanced drones you can buy. I won't go into the details, but this thing is really, really high tech. And I'm a Luddite, so that's going to be interesting. But joking apart, on going back to YouTube, on AI, it's getting into everything. I was watching a thing, I don't know if anybody else saw this, I think it was on Christmas Eve, and it was a video about World War II and the secret agents having these buttons that had like a poison. So one button had a poison in it, the other one was like an explosive charge or a detonator. And I started watching. I thought, well, this is interesting. And I started watching it, and about 30 seconds in, I thought, this is just all AI slop.
Yeah.
And it was just all AI generated. You could tell. And I thought, no. And the voice was AI as well. And I was thinking, no, stop, because this is not real. None of it's real. And I watched World War II. What's it called? World War, not Battlefield Guide. What's it called? Oh, my memory's gone. He does a lot of stuff about D-Day and the latter half of World War II. Little guy, I think his name's Chris. And he did a video about 4 weeks ago, where he was talking about how AI is creeping into what he's doing, competing with him, and taking views from him. And he gave 3 examples, and he said, which one is the real photograph? I'm going to show you 3 photographs. Well, it showed these 3 photographs from D-Day. I got it wrong. You just couldn't tell. He said only number 1 was the real photo. And they all looked pretty much spot on, And he said the problem is 30 to 50 years from now, young people today who will not be young anymore, they won't remember this. They won't know the difference.
Yeah.
And in terms of our hobby, this is what I mentioned to Jason today, and I think I may have terrified you slightly. I'm just a little bit nervous. I saw 2 videos about 10 days ago, just before Christmas, where there was the Porsche that's over my shoulder here, actually, the Tamiya one. 2 people had done that, and I became very suspicious of these 2 videos because there's a lot on that kit. Whether it was real or not, because the photography near the end, something about it just looked a bit wrong to me. And I wonder what the people think. What do you think? Have you encountered any of this stuff?
Well, I don't know much about AI. I've certainly been duped by AI because when it's done well, it can be very, very difficult to know the difference. I think I think it's both a blessing and also something to be wary of. And for me, there's a simple solution. Anything that's AI generated, it should be clearly stated that it's AI. It should be stamped. There should be a watermark or something that says this was AI generated. So as a viewer, whether it's a video or a photograph or whatever, that it's not real. Because that's what we're really talking about. I mean, someone was in the chat was just saying how they take their finished model and they use AI to bring it to life. That's a lot of fun. There's no harm in that. That's great, and I can imagine that's a good thing to do. And you can, I've got an old photograph up here of my grandfather when he was 5, and you can now put that in some form of AI software, and they'll all move and smile at each other, and that's a nice little gimmicky thing. It does no harm. But when someone's creating entire videos from AI, I don't know how much effort that takes. I think it needs to be clear to the viewer that it's AI generated. So colorizing film and stuff like that, I think that is helpful. It gives you an understanding of the time and the atmosphere. It's better than black and white does. But you just have to be aware of it, because your point about in the fullness of time will people be able to tell fact from fiction because of AI? So it's a really good point. In terms of the modeling hobby, I've always been warts and all. If I damage something or don't do something so well, everyone can see. But then I've never said I'm the best modeler. and I'm not embarrassed to go, you know what, I don't make the best models in the world. But I'm also not somebody who's looking for compliments. I'd never go and put my model into a show to be judged. That's not why I build models. I build models for the fun of building models, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. So for me, AI, if it's used responsibly, isn't an issue. It's when it's used to dupe people that it's an issue. And I think the way around that is to just clearly stamp it as this is AI. Whether that can be done, I don't know.
I mean, there was a statement by the Prime Minister about, I think it was about 9 months ago, the start of the year, and he was ranting on about how AI is going to change our lives. And it was just, well, we know this guy has a habit of just reading speeches out, but the lack of understanding of that very point you've just made, of that we need to understand if something is AI, how it's being used, why it's being used, and where it's being used, for what benefit is it being used? Because you're going to get into a situation, I think, on YouTube in particular, we're seeing it already. It's very hard to know. I mean, you see these AI generated, this guy, by the way, I've remembered the name of the channel, World War II Wayfinder is called. And he does, right. He goes to all these historical sites, you know. And he showed a couple of thumbnails that were on YouTube where it was like a Sherman, but it only had four wheels on the side. And this kind of thing. It's all AI crap, you know. It's just garbage, really. And the danger is that we're just not going to know what's real and what isn't real anymore. And I think on thumbnails in particular, I think some people are particularly, I'm not talking about modelers here, particularly guilty of it, and you don't know what to believe anymore. It's just becoming a complete minefield.
Yeah.
I'm just anyway. Shall we have some questions? Because I'm very conscious that we haven't had any questions, and I'm not very good. I'm relatively newbie at doing this hosting, and I haven't been very good at actually reading what everybody's saying. So I have to apologise to you all.
There are one or two questions that have been asked, I think, but maybe if you've got a question, just put question at the front so they're easy to spot in the chat.
Yes. I'll just remind people again here. Yes. There we go. I thought Peter was a Matchbox guy. Yes. But they don't exist anymore, sadly. I wonder what Matchbox would be like if they were still here today. There's a thought for you.
There's another live stream in that one.
Yes. Yeah, there's this guy Mataline I mentioned. He does all these artworks, like box arts. I don't know if you've seen them. What if box arts, and he does a lot of stuff like that. Matchbox doing, or Airfix doing, you know,
right.
Thunderbirds or UFO, and obviously not Space 1999.
Obviously, yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting to see. So come on then, shout up if you've got a question, because I'm sure there's been some. I bet there were near the beginning.
There was a question. I'm just going to see if I can find it. That was AI related.
Oh, not recent then.
There you go. Opinion of folks turning photos of their built models into AI videos. I'm enjoying them and would like to try to bring some of my builds to life. I think you have to pay for the software that does it. So you got to pay for software, and then you put it in, and then, as I understand it, you then have to tell the software what you want it to do with it, and then it'll create it. So there's an element of creativity to it, but it's not like you can just do it for free. I mean, I think it's harmless. I think it's a bit of fun if you want to. You know, I could put that in AI and have the sails fluttering and maybe have some seagulls and stuff, and it'll look great. But I'm not sure what value it'd add to a YouTube video.
Yeah, that's kind of harmless AI, isn't it? That's the kind of thing that there's no real enhancing life.
It's not like anything
real, though, you know.
Yeah, anything can be good or bad depending on, you know. It's AI itself is perfectly harmless. It's the application of people who aren't harmless that makes it a problem.
You see, you could, what was it, King George V, the battleship? You could do your King George V, and you could AI that when you finished with
Yeah.
your level of skill of building, that could easily be turned into something that people would believe was real footage from the day. That's the scary stuff, isn't it?
But why do that? I mean, I can understand it if you're trying to recreate a medieval battle and you've not got the tools to hand. But we've got footage of the Second World War, so we can use actual footage in a lot of cases. Not always, though. So, if you want to recreate the Battle of Trafalgar, AI is a great tool for that, isn't it?
Yes, that's very true. Very true. Oh, Mrs. Oh, blimey, it's the missus. My wife's on the channel. Oh, no. What's she saying?
have you got to go and put the bins out?
No, she's saying something about, really? Are you married to an AI? Is she saying that I'm like an AI? Really? What's she on about? Anyway. Well, any more questions? Somebody's just asking you a question. I saw Jason. Where's it gone? Jamalta got. Oh, no, for me. Jason and Peter, sorry. Which of your modelling projects of 25 did you enjoy the most? Over to you, Jason, on this one.
Well, I put a little short video out a couple of days ago to say that which one. The one I enjoyed the most was the little 3D printed resin royal barge, because it was very, very different. Decorated it very differently. I enjoy doing the painted wood effects, trying to make something that's not wood look like wood. And I thought it came out really well. And because it had a few wood parts, the oars and what have you, it just looked the part when it was done. So I totally enjoyed that. I've got to say, I've totally enjoyed doing this as well. But the royal barge is definitely my favourite because it's just so different to everything else I've done over the last few years. What about you, Peter?
Wasn't the royal barge mentioned in Blackadder? Anyway.
I don't know.
Blackadder fans will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, well, of course, I did my 0 at the start of the year. Was that last year? I lose track now. I'm afraid I haven't been very productive this year. This is the problem. I've been very productive on YouTube. My New Year's resolution is to do more building. Yeah.
Okay. So does that mean more projects alongside your mosquito, or more on the mosquito?
Yeah, more on the mosquito. I'm going to be doing less reviews in 26 and more building, and I am going to do more videos about building.
Okay. Interesting.
Question for Jason. This is from Steve's Model Builds. He says, you mentioned the other day that you're dyslexic. Does that cause you problems reading instructions, or does it just apply to letters?
Right. Okay. So it's really interesting because I'll tell you a little story. On the day I passed my driving test, I told my driving instructor that I was dyslexic after I passed the test. And she had an absolute breakdown, meltdown. How do you read the road signs? Because she didn't have an understanding of dyslexia. So to cut a very long story short, I discovered I was dyslexic when I was 15, just a couple of weeks before I sat my final high school exams. Now, fast forward to me being 53, and I find out I'm autistic as well. And the two often go hand in hand. So for me, reading instructions is not an issue. In fact, I love instructions. What it means is I read more slowly. So fiction is very difficult for me, not because I often have to read a word and then read it again. So it's very difficult for me to retain the picture of the story that's going on. So you'll find a lot of dyslexic people prefer factual books to fiction books because it tends to be shorter, fact-based bursts of information. And that's easier for a dyslexic, or certainly me as a dyslexic, not all dyslexics are the same, to digest it. So instructions I've always found easy. One of the reasons that I sometimes find Tamiya instructions a little difficult, and why I completely dislike Wingnut Wing instructions and Kotair instructions is because they've got so much information on there that it's too busy.
Yeah.
And you've got to go from page to page. And so when Tamiya do their sort of background information and research information, which is lovely, they put it in a separate book. I'm like, yay, brilliant. When Kotair do it and they put it on each page, I'm like, I can't be doing with it. So actually, all the written words can get in the way. So pictorial, I mean, I always say that for me, Airfix are the best instructions you can get. There's very few words on them, isn't there? So it doesn't get in the way of following the instructions, but sometimes I can find a page a little bit overwhelming if it's too busy and laid out in a slightly different way, which Tamiya ship instructions particularly the flow isn't necessarily left to right, because that's not the Japanese way, and that can throw me a little bit. But generally, I'm okay.
I understand what you're saying about Tamiya instructions. Even I found them a little bit busy at times. I've mentioned this in the past. So, but the Qatari Wingnut Wings, I know what you mean, because they're confusing fact with fiction, aren't they, in a way? Yeah, I find there's a fairly uncomplicated. What was the other one I saw recently that was a bit like that? Was it IBG? I think it was. Theirs was like Wingnut Wing stroke Qatari, but less busy. It was like broken down to very small chunks, which I like.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, then don't ever buy the AMK Tomcat 148, which is it's like, I don't know if in China that trees are very expensive and paper's really expensive. Let's try and cram 500 parts, being put into the actual kit, construction panes on one page. Yeah. You never seen it like it. Have you seen it? It's scary.
No, but I mean, I build a lot of wooden ships, and traditionally instructions for wooden ships, the whole set of instructions for a wooden ship is one page of written text, and you have to break it into little boxes to understand it. So you're working off plans and written text that's in two different formats, and I always used to struggle with that. The kits that I now build, they have a much better pictorial format, and I find it so much easier to build along with.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's interesting, in the late 60s, early 70s, Airfix, when they had the hanger bags and all that stuff, their instructions was like a load of written text with just a few small diagrams, really, that were very simplified, even on something like a 72nd scale Spitfire. And I found that very difficult. I remember when I was a kid, trying to read it along, I mean, the modern system is better, I've got to say.
But even busy pictures can be too busy, and I don't know whether that's the dyslexia or the autism, but the old Airfix instructions where step 1 is 2/3 of the kit in one picture and it's all in different directions, that I can look at that and go, what the hell's going on? And then step 2 is finish it with all the other parts.
That's the AMK way. Problem with AMK is it's got hundreds of parts, It's like, let's try and get a third of the part. It's got 800 parts in the kit. Let's get a third of them down on the first page,
Yeah. But no, instructions give me instructions and rules give me a comfy, warm feeling. So that in reading recipes and all that sort of stuff, it's not really a problem.
Oh, very good. Oh, it sounds like you wouldn't know, because I mean, sometimes careful what I say. I don't offend anybody, but sometimes when I watch Phil Flory, he always seems to. I mean, he's brilliant at. He almost doesn't need instructions, this guy. But when he reads, when there's questions like we're doing tonight, actually, when he's reading stuff, he seems to struggle reading a sentence, and it's like he gets 2 or 3 words in, and then he sort of struggles and sometimes jumps a word and things like that. And I always thought maybe he was dyslexic. Okay, I'm not trying to offend it, but it's like there's a jumping. It's like he can only handle a few words at a time. It seems like.
So yeah, I mean, my eldest daughter's also dyslexic. My youngest one seems to have avoided that, and with her, color helps. So if you put a blue overlay, she can read it easier. For example, I find blue is a little easier for me. So if there's a blue background, it's easier to read something. But yeah, I can skip words, and I can think I've read a word and come up with a completely different word than was what was actually written. And it's a lot of fun because when we go driving and I read a road sign, I can say to Paul, I thought that said, and then it'll be inappropriate. So we'll have a giggle about it and what have you. So it can be a lot of fun, but also you might not be dyslexic, but if you've got something like ADHD, your brain is working faster than your eye a lot of the time. So that can make it happen. And it's not quite the same thing. So yeah, it's quite interesting. A lot of people that are on the spectrum somewhere can have reading issues. It doesn't necessarily make them dyslexic or dyspraxic or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I get overload with even the Tamiya. Sometimes I have to sort of just think. Even though the one I'm working the mosquito, I have to just go back and just try and train the brain to understand, because they have a lot of descriptions. I mean, I complained about ICM having none, and they've gone the other way, haven't they? It's like a little bit too much information sometimes,
It's interesting. They reckon about 20% of the population of the planet are neurodiverse. But if you hang around in communities like train spotting, bird spotting, stamp collecting, coin collecting, or building models, you'll find that the percentage goes up quite significantly.
Right, we shall move on. That's very interesting. Now then, interesting one. We're talking about challenges there in a way, aren't we? So what about one of our next subjects, which is, what do people feel? By the way, this would be a good moment for any questions if we've missed any. I don't know if you can spot any, Jason, while we've been chatting away. Jim Altegott says, Peter, finish the mosquito. Yes, I have actually committed on film just a couple of days ago that I will definitely complete the mosquito by Christmas Eve. So that gives me, nearly a year. Where's Jason gone? We've lost him. I think his battery might have faded or something. So I've promised that I'm going to finish the mosquito by Christmas Eve 2026. It's a pledge, a firm, solemn pledge. Jason has vanished. Did I do something to Jason, or was that him having a technical problem? We shall just hang fire. We should just hang fire for a moment. The next subject was going to be, what is your greatest fear or limitation that you feel maybe holds you back from your hobby, in the model building hobby? Because that is something, start with me. For me, it's two things. I think there's this element, we've talked about it before, whereby some of these model builders you see on YouTube, some of them are so good, epic, that sometimes you feel there's a competitive element. I don't know. I think maybe having a YouTube channel makes it worse because people have high expectation of you. And I think some of the kits that I've produced into models have not been too bad. I'm just oh, it's all right. Jason's just telling me he's trying to sort it out. He's got technical problems. Okay. So it's nothing I did, which is good. It's just that I moved my keyboard and it's the same moment they disappear. So I have a problem with, perhaps it's an expectational problem because I'm such a bloody OCD, I mean, I'm worse than I probably come across, really. My expectations are way higher than I usually achieve. I think I've only maybe achieved it once or twice, what I really want to achieve in a model. And the other element of it is also this fear that some of us have, and Jason mentioned this as well, fear of when you've got something that you think is a really premium kit and you don't want to mess it up. And a lot of people say to me, Jason is returning, I'm glad to say. Here he comes. Oh, he was returning. I thought we had him back there. Where's he gone? Jason, it popped up saying Jason is returning to the stage. And I clicked on returning to the stage, and he's not returned. So if you're listening, Jason, try again. Let's try and get you back in. Yeah, so I feel that just difficult sometimes. I feel I'm quite bad at this, actually. I think this is the reason that held me back when I did that Gulf Le Mans Porsche. Will I hear somebody here? Oh, somebody supplied some treats for me. Just bear with me 1 second. I've got a mince pie. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Mrs. Oxley has limped up the stairs, hobbled up the stairs. Got to be a mince pie. Look at that. Yeah, so Pincher Geek. Pincher Geek is asking Peter Mosquito a question. I'm not sure what his question is. Is it which mosquito? Because its device is not connected. They will need to connect their mic cam before they can be added to the screen. If you're watching, Jason, it says you need to connect your mic. He's got technical problems. Oh, glass of wine. Thank you very much. It's lovely. Thank you. Very good of you to make that effort when you're in pain. Nice wife. And she bought me a drone as well. So device is not connected. Jason. He said Jason will need to connect his mic or cam before they can be added to the stream. Hope he's hearing this. The question was about the mosquito. Which one is it? Where's our Mrs. O? Mrs. O's not got a very bad foot. Did Jason come back now? Do I need to invite him again? Just bear with me a second, folks. I might just have a little bit of an issue here. It says I've added Jason to the stage, but he hasn't come in for some reason. He's being shy. Let me just try him again. Hang on a second. Just bear with me a second, folks. Clearly, we have a little bit of a problem. Invite guest. Here we go. Okay, let's just try and get him. Hold on a second. 1 second. There we go. Let's try that. Coming back to you, folks. Hold on. With you in a second. There we go. That should have sorted it, I hope. Now, bear with me, because Jason may suddenly appear, and I've got to try and grab him. It's like he's... I thought we're in outer space, and I've got to grab him before he zooms back past me. Yeah, so the mosquito is the 32nd scale Tamiya mosquito. A fantastic kit, but they now cost well in excess of £200. Well in excess. So not in production, I don't think, anymore either. So it's a bit of a tricky one, to be honest. Anyway, while I'm waiting for Jason to rejoin us, I shall. Is there anything else I need to do? Let's just make sure he's not trying to talk to me. He's definitely vanished, left me in the lurch. No, he's not coming back at the moment. I think he's maybe got some issues. So I've got my Mac here, my Apple Mac, iMac. So I don't have any problems with things like batteries running out and stuff like that. So I'm quite lucky in that I don't really have too much of an issue with that, really. Anyway, back to the questions. What is your absolute favourite model you ever got for Christmas? Says Matt Geo11. Favourite model I ever got for Christmas? Think about this. Christmas models. On Christmas Day, I've got some interesting ones on Christmas Day. I got the 24th scale Airfix Harrier, which was a bit of a horror. And this is in 1978. Even then, it wasn't great. I think the best one I've actually got for Christmas, though. There's been a few. Quite a lot of these Wing Not Wings ones, including the one I've got here. Right, Sup with Dolphin. There you go. I got that this Christmas, which is very nice. I also got given the Meng ME163B, and which many of you will have seen me doing my dusting on the cabinet. Bear with me a second. I'm just trying Jason again to try and get him back. Let's see if we can do that. There we go. I think he's definitely got some issues. So yeah, I've got the ME163B from Meng, which is 32nd scale as well, and he's back. We got him.
Yay!
What happened?
I am not sure, but I've had to move from my laptop to my iPad to get it to work. For some reason, it suddenly won't accept screen and microphone, but you can see and hear me okay now.
Yes, but you've got a lisp.
I've got a lisp.
Literally, it sounds like you've suddenly got a lisp.
I don't know.
Sounds like you bit your tongue or something.
Okay. Let me move to a different mode. See if is that better? Does that sound better?
Yes, it does now. Yes, it does.
Right. Okay, we'll do that then. I'm using the iPad microphone.
So somebody was just asking, what was your favourite ever Christmas model that you've been given on Christmas Day? Matt was just asking.
Oh, okay.
To you.
Well, I've got to go back and delve into time and go back to the Millennium Falcon in 1/72 scale with working LED light, not LED lights, bulb lights. So in the back strip, you could light that up. There was a little switch. You could light that up. And there was a battery case, and it came with a Chewbacca, a Han Solo, revolving guns. It was absolutely awesome, and it was a special Christmas. I can tell you what year it was.
Was it 2 days ago?
It was no. To get that kit now, I think was it EMP or someone like that made it.
MPC,
yeah. So 1978. And it was the only Christmas where we ever spent Christmas at my grandparents' down in Wiltshire. So I remember it well because I remember building it on their living room floor at like 6 a.m. before everyone had got up. So that's my favourite.
I was just telling the story of the very same Christmas. I got two things that day. I got a Panasonic radio, portable radio cassette recorder.
Yeah,
which was actually very nice. And I got slightly less nice, and this is not me having to go at Airfix, but the 24 scale Harrier, which was not their finest product, really.
Right.
And I don't think I ever finished building it. I sort of got halfway through it, and it was a real nightmare, to be honest. And when you're that young, it was just beyond challenging, you know. But it looked brilliant. Of course, this is the one that we all know, the famous artwork from the box art. Brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the very same Christmas morning. How about that? That's a coincidence.
Well, there you go. It's a small world, isn't it?
Well, I think you got the better deal.
I'd love to build that again. I was very proud of it. I remember taking it into primary school for some reason or other. But yeah, I remember my mates liked it as well.
They did.
Yeah.
Incredible. So I was just looking through the questions, see if we've got any questions. So that was one question.
I can't see the chat now, by the way, so I will read it after the video, but I can't see it.
Okay, well, it's down to me. Okay, so bear with me, folks. I'll be looking away more. So, Peter, are you all completed models on display in your cabinets, or do you have some built models stored away? This is creative time wasting, Neil. Yes, I do have just a small amount that's stored away. I've got a load of 5 Formula One cars from the sort of 80s, 90s. Ayrton Senna, Nigel Mansell. They're not in great condition. These have not been in the cabinet, so they're a bit degraded, to be honest. They're very dusty and knackered, you know. I do have the Toyota GT86, the car I used to own, which I have shown on the channel recently, last year, which is in a little case. So that's absolutely fine, you know. And I think that's all. Yeah, so what I've done over time is, as I've got better with my modelling, the really poor ones, it's like a conveyor belt. They end up going off the end of the conveyor belt. going to the charity shop or whatever. But I need to just if there's anybody who needs to do more modelling in this hobby on YouTube, it's definitely me, isn't it? Anyway, so
right.
Moving on to the next question. Next question. Let's have a look. Brian says, would like to see you build or even do a series of your first radio control model. A series? Well, I've only got my radio control models. I've got my aircraft, which you sometimes see
on your
in
wall.
my modelling lab on the carriage wall. I've done a few videos about them. If you look back, if you put in on my channel, you just put in RC jets, you'll get some videos. Another question from Matt. Do modelers with OCD have an unfair advantage over everybody else? I won't say it's unfair.
I wouldn't say it was an advantage because you'll yeah.
Well, you're just asking me, one of you, about why it's taken me. We're just coming up to the 2nd anniversary of my mosquito build, and all I've done is built 3 men. Well, 2 men, really. So there's your answer. I think if I didn't have that, I'd be very much more productive. It took me 3 years to build the Gulf Porsche. It's only a little thing, so big, ridiculous. So no, not an advantage. We used to call it perfectionism, says a Sant in Babylon. Okay, yeah. Robert Payne's joined. Hello, Robert Payne. Questions. Looking down. Somebody mentioned wingnut wings. Who mentioned wingnut wings then? I saw that. I think somebody took their name in vain then. Bear with me. Oh, Matt says he don't want to touch any wingnut wings kits. Only Jason has dared to open the lost ark and not been melted by the demons. Yeah.
I believe kits were designed with the intention of you building them. They weren't designed to be put on in a dark corner somewhere.
That's my pension. What are you saying?
Yeah.
One of these days. Well, now I've got another one. It puts more pressure on the Sopwith Camel. I'm going to build that Sopwith Camel. I do promise. It's a pledge, firm pledge. I'll do it. The only thing that really puts me off it, and this is an area where you've got more experience than me, it's the damn rigging.
The rigging, do you know what? Rigging's always easier than you'd imagine it to be in your mind. Honestly, just choose your materials wisely is what I'd say. But
use the easy line, EZ line.
No. It's harder to rig with easy line. I find on aircraft, you're better with something which has got a little bit more rigidity. So if you're building 172, stretch sprue is pretty good. If you're on 148 or bigger, I'd go with fishing line. When I did that Gota, I did fishing line because easy line flops around all over the place and it can delaminate because it's made up of a lot of filaments and they can fray. And over time, especially if they've got UV light on them, they become brittle. So in the long run, you're better not using easy line. Easy line was originally invented for telephone lines for rail motorway users. Well, nobody builds railway model railway sets layouts in sunlight, so it didn't matter. But it does matter if you put in your models on display.
Right. Yes, so, I mean, I've got it on my ME109 BF G6.
Yeah,
not the Airfix one, but the Tamiya one, and it's kind of not really in the light. It's in the hole there. You've seen the cabinet. You've seen it, I think, but it's not really. It doesn't get a lot of sunlight really, apart from on a very hot summer's day in July.
Yeah. The biggest problem with easy line, the reason why people like it is you can glue it on one point and stretch it and glue it again. And I do use it. I used it on the Anson, the Airfix Anson on the tail. I put a little bit of easy line on. So you can use it as a quick fix, but actually you're better with something that's a little bit more rigid. And I find fishing line is perfectly good for that sort of thing.
Duly noted. Thank you for that. I shall take that on board. Okay. Other questions. What's happened to the fair Mrs. O's foot? Mrs. O tripped up yesterday. I think it was a footwear related issue, to be honest. But she went over on her ankle and really twisted it, and you could almost hear it. And then she went down on her left knee as well, so she went straight down. We'd only been walking 120 meters or something, not far from the house. Got as far as the pub. Oh, you've fallen over, darling. We need to go in the pub while you recover. That's what it could have looked like anyway. But actually, I was ahead of her, so I wasn't guilty. But no, she's really whacked it, and it's swollen up horribly. It's like a golf ball. But I think she's going to be all right. She just needs to rest it, I think. More questions. Any more questions? Don't forget to ask a question with a question at the beginning. Steve, thanks a lot, Steve. Steve's saying, I think he's referring to my wing nut wing stash. He said that's Mrs. O's inheritance. She's going to do well. She's got the Porsche, she's got wing nut wings, and all those hundreds of Matchbox mint examples. She's going to be living in a palace, to be honest.
And she'll have all that space as well, Pete.
Don't say it. Any more questions? I'm just looking down. I think we've caught up. We probably haven't. There's probably questions that we've missed. Just saw one then, actually, which I don't think we did. Anybody that we've not caught because of Jason's problem, just ask the question again. We will get back to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll move on, and while I'm looking down this list, I'll get Jason talking about the next thing. So we were talking about greatest fears and limitations in the hobby, which I started talking about, but you never got a chance to.
Oh, right. Okay. So you've already talked about your.
Yeah, I said it's basically a coward,
Yeah. Actually, my greatest fear, it's changed over time, but my greatest fear now is time, and the lack of it. And quite interestingly, I was having a conversation with one of my channel members at Telford about this, and it's interesting. As you get older, two things happen. The amount of time you've got left to build models is less. The amount of models you've got to build is greater. So
the universe expanding, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, and as you know, I've got rid of a lot of mine this year. But what it does is it feeds a particular way of building, which isn't necessarily the way I want to build, which is to just build it straight out of the box and get it done and move on to the next one. And there's a lot of people who are sort of building a model and they're almost steamrolling themselves through the process because they want to get to the next one. They want to build so many of the models that they've got. And I think it's driving behaviors. So that's my fear. So what I'm doing on my channel in 2026, one of my group builds that anyone can join is going to be called In Context. And what I'm trying to do is encourage people to just take a little bit more time with the model and don't just display it on its own, put it on a base or with a figure and give it some context. Because that's what I used to do as a kid. You know, you think about the Matchbox dioramas that you've waxed lyrical about, Peter. You enjoyed them because there was a bit of context and you went a little bit beyond the item itself. And we've sort of lost that because we're in a race against time to build the stash. So my greatest fear is time.
That's a good answer, actually. That's a good answer. Interestingly, as you were saying, I mean, see, I'm a paragon of virtue. I take my time. 3 years. 3 years is not uncommon. But I noticed that Gary, Gremlins Modeling Mayhem, he was very harsh. He said, Peter, I hate this guy sometimes. How could you say this? He says, how many kits have you started in 2025 that you've completed? Well, let me see. None. Well, did I? No, I've started. Not that I've started this year. That's bad. Anyway, I am promising to do better next year. I guarantee you. Next year, I will finish the Mosquito. This is a solemn promise. Ooh. The Mosquito will be finished, and I will start the Tomcat before New Year in the next 12 months.
You heard it here, folks. He will finish the Mosquito this year. We're going to hold you to it, Pete.
Christmas Eve.
To be honest, once you've got past the cockpit and the engines, the rest of it's just big oceans of plastic to paint. It's, you know.
Yeah. And it's fairly easy to paint, really, relatively speaking, because you've got very little weathering on that kit, that airplane, and you've got a lot of grey that's the same grey.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Hang on. Another question. Right, here's one we missed. When do you think there will be this is a good question. When do you think, this is History in Plastic, Paul Coppin.
Yeah.
When do you think there will be a release of a new 1/48 scale Tornado, and will it be released before I'm dead?
Well, we can't predict your end, but I would be surprised if we don't. I mean, we've got a question coming up that sort of touches on this, haven't we, Pete? Because you're doing them in a slightly different order. But I wouldn't be surprised if Airfix, now the Jaguar's out, don't turn their sights onto a decent Tornado in the next couple of years.
I agree with you there. I think that would be, and the success of the Jaguar must only, I predicted, I didn't predict, but I pleaded for Paramjit to design the Jag, and he did. So it's an absolute shoo-in for him to move on to the Tornado. And if he did, they're getting strong in this area now. They did the Buccaneer, now they've got the Jag. It's a natural follow, isn't it? The only other one that, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, I'll say this now to get it out of the way so other people can have their say. But the only other one that I would like to see, of course, was the Eurofighter Typhoon. But I'd like to see the Tornado first. And the one from Revell, I've got it, it's not great. It's not terrible. It's buildable, and it's, you can manage it, but it's not going to be a whole lot of fun. There's issues with the intakes again, really bad, actually. The weak point of it. I was talking to Nathan Robinson. He's one of the Flory guys, and he's an expert on this particular kit. I've got to say, he's built, I don't know how many he's done, dozens, I think. And he told me that you should, I hope I get this right. He said, Peter, start at the front when you join the kit up. Start at the nose and very slowly work your way back when you're bonding it together, and don't rush it. He said, because if you try to stick it together as a whole and then put your intakes in, nothing will fit. It's an absolute pig.
Right.
And the trouble is, his words have always made me think, oh, it's not going to be Tamiya this, is it? Here's me grumbling about the odd Airfix kit with minor issues, and you're thinking, blimey, this sounds like an absolute nightmare from hell. But I'm sure some of you watching this program have probably built it, because it is quite a popular kit. Right. It's just out of date, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So there you go. Is there any others I missed? So leading me on, I've had my say already. So what do you want to see next year then, Jason? Because I've already told you what I want to see.
Right. Okay. So you posed the question, what would I realistically like to see? And I think that's a good caveat, because I could easily go quite unrealistic with what I want to see. But I've got one, and I'm interested to see what the reaction is to this. Because when you think about, and this is really aimed at Airfix, when you think about what Airfix are doing, what they're releasing, and what they've released in the past, and you look at all the popular World War II aircraft. So you look at the Battle of Britain, and everything's been released. You look at the top 10 Allied aircraft of the Second World War, everything's been released. You look at the top 10 aircraft on the German side, and 9 of them have been released. There's one that's a massive production German aircraft that Airfix have never, ever, ever done. In fact, to my knowledge, there's only ever been one kit tooled of it in 172, and Revell bought the tooling because they didn't do it, and they've released it some time ago. So I'm talking about the BV Bowman Voss 138. So it's a recon flying boat, and it was a massive disruptor of Allied convoys. They made huge quantities of them. They're a bit quirky looking because they've 3 engines. One's mounted on the top of the wing. But I think it's a stunning looking aircraft, and it really surprises me that in the top 10 important aircraft for the Germans in World War II, and Airfix have never made it. So I'd like to. I think it's realistic for them to do that. I'd love to see them do it in 148. I think we need more people banging on that door, and I like flying boats. So that's one. I don't think we'll see anything in 124 other than another re-release of the 109 and a different guise. If you look at what they did with the Spitfire, they'll follow that. But what I would love them to do, I mean, I've often said I'd like them to do a 124 Swordfish, but in reality, it would be nice if they did an ME 262 in 124, so you
I'd
can
like
get. So you can get to all the engines and all the gubbins. I think that'd look really nice.
But
But
just interrupt you. The only reservation about that would be the cost, because it'd be quite a chunk of plastic, wouldn't it? I think.
Yeah, it would be. It would be, but it's doable. I know it's twin engine and everything, but they could maybe have one engine option visible and one not. I don't know. But it would be a cracking option, and there was enough of them about for them to have several iterations and releases, so that's always important. Another aircraft, this time going to the First World War, that you don't really see get released is a Sopwith 7F Snape. I think that would be it's a really nice fighter. It wasn't very fast, but it was very maneuverable, and a number of flying aces flew it, and it's been a little bit underrepresented.
Snape, not Snipe.
Yeah, Snipe.
Snipe. Yeah, gotcha.
So sorry, did I say Snape? Sorry.
Wings did one, didn't we?
I can't remember if they did or not, but
isn't that in my stash?
Oh, I don't know. But the F7, the 7F1, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to.
They're very anti World War One now, aren't they? It seems, they're not.
I don't know. They brought they brought an RAF one out this year as a re-release, haven't they?
Yeah,
we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But that leads me on to what I would really like to see, and this is a bit more general. And again, it's aimed at Airfix because I'm an Airfix fan. This year they brought out the Flying Dray, which I thought was a bit of a red herring. But I love the idea of the 3D printed part. And what I'd like to see them do is actually start focusing on things like flying aces and giving you a 3D printed figure. So we've got the Bulldog, for example. They could do a Douglas Bader special, and you get a figure and you get the decals, but the base kit would be what they've just released in the last week or so. And they could do that with Spitfires and re-release them with 3D printed pilot flying aces. We could do a whole series of flying ace figures or busts or something to go with them, and that would be so much better than collectible coins, wouldn't it?
It's a brilliant idea, because it's what the Wingnut Wings are doing, but they did it in 24 scale,
Yeah, you could even do it at 148. People would buy into it, and I'd rather buy that than a silly coin.
I agree. Quick question while you're talking. Somebody has just asked, where's it gone? Yeah. Darren Ashton has just said, did Airfix ever do Focke-Wulf Condor? They did, didn't they? 72nd scale, pretty sure. I can remember the artwork. Condor over a submarine. 72nd.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember whether it was Airfix or Revell, to be honest, but someone has.
I can picture the artwork, not the kit. That's the funny thing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 72nd. I think they did.
Yeah, it has been done. Yeah.
Fairy Fireflies, another suggestion. Yeah, that's a kind of bit underrepresented, isn't it? Start of World War II,
So I reviewed that this year, the Fairy Firefly, done by
Trumpeter.
No, I want to say Ukrainian company.
Model. No,
I can't remember, but the kit has got a lot. It's got 3D printed parts for the engine, and it's got a lot of photo etch, and apparently it's quite a challenging build as well. But it was a lovely kit. So yeah, the flycatcher or whatever it's called.
Flycatcher, yes, I remember. Oh yeah, I remember seeing this.
Yeah.
You got about the company now. Yeah, okay. Revell did the Condor. There's definitely, I'm sure there was an Airfix one in 72nd there in the 70s. I remember them. Early 70s, I'm thinking it. Revell certainly did it as well, yeah. The Aurora 148th King Tiger or the Guadalcanal helicopter carrier. Well then. I'm trying to think of that. What else? Dum dum dum. Question: if you could have any kit that you built as a kid that you don't have, what would it be?
Oh. Well, I think we've touched on that already. It would be a certain Millennium Falcon from the 70s. And just to flip that question, there's one kit I had as a kid that I'd never, ever, ever want again. And that was the Revell Cormorant oil rig. What a bizarre kit that is. But yeah, someone bought me that for Christmas one year. Mentioning no names, Dad.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to build that again.
Your Christmas list, Daddy.
I wanted the Nat Walker.
Oh, really? Oh, dear. Goes from one extreme to the other.
Someone must have had it on sale.
Really, you were on the naughty list that year with the sound of it. You've been a bad boy. What was the other one? The Lighthouse ship. I got loaned this by David Mummery to review, and it was.
They keep re-releasing that one.
Frog, and then it was the Russian
Frog.
Guy. Yeah, it was Frog originally, and then the Russian guys got it, didn't they? And I took one look at it, and I said to him, and he'd loaned me lots of kits to review, and this was the one that I said, no.
That would have been fun. That would have been fun.
It was horrible. I had a quick look at it with the evil. Brian's going to bed. He said, thanks for entertaining us over the year, the pair of you. That's nice. Quick check. Scalemate. Revell and Trumpeter do a Condor. I'm pretty sure Airfix did one. Sure they did. I remember the artwork. It was a Roy Cross artwork. Remember it well. Look it up, I'm sure. What about Steve's model builds is saying, what about the Airfix 172 short Sterling? Well, that would be nice to be a reissue, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. They are sort of shying away from these big World War II 4-engine bombers, aren't they? Apart from, obviously, they did the Liberator.
What you've got to think, I mean, what you have to do is turn to other companies if you want something that's not going to have a lot of iterations. So a lot of people bang on about an Avro Manchester, for example, and I'd love to build an Avro Manchester, but Airfix will never do it because they can't re-release it in lots of different formats. So you've got to turn to the small cottage industry type manufacturers for an Avro Manchester then, or a conversion kit to a Lancaster, because there's not a lot of differences. So the Lancaster came out of the Manchester, didn't it? So, but yeah, I think what you're going to see from Airfix is a lot of re-releasing what's been successful to them in the past, because the team is playing very safe. When I talk to them about re-releasing HMS Victory, it's all, well, the sales are dropping. Well, yeah. It's my little hobby horse. They said the sales are dropping. Well, the sales are dropping because the kit is junk.
Garbage.
It's garbage. Give us a decent one, and you might find your sales go up. But anyway,
you know what would really help your cause would be if somebody did a movie, and this is almost leading into something else I want to talk about. Maybe not tonight, but we talked about sort of YouTube and stuff. But one thing that is good about AI, going back to your comments earlier, that you can recreate those battles, as you said, Trafalgar, etc. And what we really need is a proper movie. We had the Russell Crowe one, obviously. I mean, look at that. If there had been HMS Surprise on the market when that came out, 2003, it would have sold like hotcakes, I think. And I think if we just get a proper historical movie, I mean, I don't know whether it's a woke political thing, but there's not a lot of appetite for that sort of film, I think, at the moment. But it's a shame because,
They
something
are.
about Nelson, you know.
Yeah, there hasn't been, if you really think about it, in plastic, there hasn't been a new tall ship for over 40 years. So you've got re-releases of Revell kits, you've got Airfix re-releasing kits from the 60s, and then you've now got Hella under new management and ownership re-releasing some of their 1/100 stuff, which are nice kits. But the problem with every single one of them is they're showing their age. You know, they've got raised lines and that sort of stuff because they haven't got the tooling potential that they can do now. You imagine if you took the design capabilities that we see in some of the aircraft that Airfix come out with, and they put that into a tall ship. Doesn't matter which it is, whether it's Victory or any other, and it would be absolutely stunning. But the market's died because they let it die, and then they use the fact that the market's died as an excuse not to do it again. But there is a lot of people out there who are buying very old tall ships because they've got nothing else to buy. You give them something new and they'll lap it up. And an HMS Surprise in plastic would, that looked like the one in the movie, they would sell it in the bucket loads.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right. They would. And there is a sequel to the movie that's been written. They're looking for a director, as my understanding.
Really? And is it still Jack Aubrey?
Well, all the Master and Commander books are based on the Jack Aubrey and the Doctor. The ships do change though, because he's not in Surprise at the start. But yeah, there's a lot of books there. The film that you see is a morphing together of a couple of the books, but there's lots of books there they can use for material, so easy to do.
On the subject, slightly going off the subject only slightly. Yeah. One of my subscribers, Angus, who donated that lovely Japanese diner, Tamiya diner kit with the little, is it the Kagura, the little 4x4 weird little like a clown car.
Yeah.
Reviewed last week. He has just been to see the Goring film, and he said it's absolutely appalling. And this guy does a lot of historical writing, and he's written several books. He's really into factual accuracy, going back to what we said about accuracy. And he said it is an absolute abomination, this film. He said nothing to do with, he said Russell Crowe is the high point. He said, but it's factually so inaccurate on so many levels. He said, I would just recommend you avoid.
So I've seen the film Nuremberg. Saw it when it first came out. And what the filmmakers have said is it's a film, not a documentary. So they've made that point. Russell Crowe has made a point because in real life during the Nuremberg trials, Goering is losing weight all the time, and he's trying to get fit and what have you. So he loses weight, and you see that his clothes are hanging off him by the end of it. And he's deliberately not done that, Russell Crowe. He wanted to he bulked up for the role, and he said he wanted to keep the bulk up because he didn't want people to get more sympathetic with the character. He wanted them to see him as a monster, as he wanted to present him. So yeah, I thought the film was outstanding. I thought it was a really good film, and obviously I studied military history at university. I'm a big fan of my military history. Yeah, it's not factually correct in some places, but the main gist of it, the main story of it is fairly good. But it's a dramatization. It's a movie. It's not a documentary. If you want a documentary, watch a documentary.
I'm not personally convinced that Russell Crowe is the right guy, and I like Russell Crowe. And I said to him in my reply, I said, well, I loved him in LA Confidential, Gladiator, and of course, Master and Commander. I thought it was absolutely epic. But I'm not convinced he's right from what I've seen. He doesn't even look right. But anyway, that's just my view. I don't think I'm going to see that one, if I'm honest. Nor do I be getting the DVD or whatever, streaming it. Anyway, next question. So, question asked in the list I gave to you. just check we haven't got any more questions from the audience. What is the greatest? Oh, here we go. Judgment at Nuremberg. Oh, for me, Steve says, Judgment at Nuremberg can't be matched. Have I seen that? I don't think I have, actually. Somebody else said he thought it was good. Okay.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
Right, okay. By the way, talking of oldies but goodie, the Malta story was on this afternoon. And as I was caught out on a few facts when I talked about the Malta story when I did my ICM Gladiator versus the Fiat recently, a few months ago. I thought I better watch that. I haven't watched it yet, but I've got it on to watch some of the next few days.
Good film.
Yeah, Alec Guinness, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Right, okay. Well, somebody else said he thought that Crow was miscast. Yeah, I've got no problem with Crow. Just not sure about him in that, but anyway. So, next, final question that we had was your greatest likes and dislikes about the hobby in 2025. What do you think? Things that have been good, things that have been bad? Not talking about sort of specific kits or anything like that there, but any things that you're not enjoying, whether it's related to social media or attitudes or what?
Yeah, I think there's definitely, I've certainly felt it this year. I've certainly felt that the hobby has plunged deeper into negativity, or at least that's been my experience of it. And I don't know whether that's just because I've had some negativity come towards the channel. I mean, you always get some, and whether I've just focused on it a little bit. But there's been a lot of videos in my mind. I've unsubscribed from a number of channels during the course of this year because of this. There's been a number of videos which are trying to get a bit sensationalized, and they're doing it through being negative. And what happens is, if something comes along and you're negative about it, then that gets a high view rating. So people are looking for things to be negative about to get a high view rating, and I really struggle with that because firstly, I think subscriber count is a red herring. So people chasing subscribers is a red herring. It's nonsense. I've got over 14,000 subscribers, but I don't have 14,000 people watch every video. So it's a bit of a red herring to try and do clickbait, for want of a better term. But there seems to have been an increase in people deliberately trying to find a way of bringing people into the videos, rather than the more positive way of just doing your thing and letting people find it and enjoy it. So what I'm trying to do next year is be deliberately more positive, and by that I mean, for example, my group builds that I'm running next year, they're all, with the exception of one, they're all 12 months long, so people have got the time to do it. So you've not got the time pressure, because there's always someone who misses the boat, and so there's little things like that, and I'm going to try and be a little bit more focused on the positive aspects of the hobby. And I've asked my members what they want to see, what they want to see more of, and I've got a good view of what my channel members, they're the really important people to me, because they're the people that are actually paying to see the channel, so for me, it's what do they want, what do they enjoy from my channel, and make sure that I don't lose that. So I've got a good understanding of that. All the other viewers and all the other subscribers are that, even though I wouldn't say they're not important, because they are, they're just viewing in occasionally when something of interest comes along. So essentially, a subscriber is someone who watched one of your videos and might be interested in another video in the future. That's the way I see it. So I'm going to focus on the people that watch all my videos religiously, or most of my videos religiously. Some of my members watched more of my videos than I did this year. So I'm focusing on them, and I think that'll be a more positive experience for me. And I'm also going to be focusing more on what I want to do and trying not to think about what I think other people want to see. And I think that will be a more organic and more positive experience for me. And I think that will come across on camera better. So I'm going to try and deliberately steer away from the negative videos that other people appear to be deliberately putting out to try and get people to click in. I guess that makes sense.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. It's interesting that something that really irked me just in the last 2-3 days was I mentioned that I'd been looking at this on this 109 debacle. I did something I hadn't done before, which is I actually put a search in regarding the issues about that kit to see what other people were saying, which I literally haven't done before. And the search that comes up on Google, there was all sorts of comment. One person said, I think it was on Facebook, one person said regarding me, clearly, definitely hadn't watched the actual video concerned. I think I mentioned one already where he said, I won't be surprised if you haven't warped it a bit more, which is a bit cheeky and ridiculous, obviously, if you watch the actual unboxing video, which was one of the first that was done. But he went on to say, one guy went on to say, he's probably one of these guys who does things just to be sensational for clicks. Yeah. And it led me on to thinking about, A, that's completely false, 100% false. But B, it leads into something else that gets said to me all the time, and that is, you should do more rants. Yeah. Because they're entertaining. And I'm thinking, and I've said this before, I've said, but the rants are genuine. They are not there. The fact that they are popular is a big bonus for me. But they are, when I have an explosion, well, this is why we got the T-shirt. I came for the review, but stayed for the rant. Because sometimes, as we had with that Airfix kit, it started off as a very lovely review and everything in the garden was rosy and the little bunnies were jumping around and rainbows and everything. And then it just went horribly wrong. And I didn't see that coming at all. So it's a bit frustrating that I don't want people to see me as someone that, it's a fact, I don't do the rants for clicks. When I have something to say, I may have an explosion about it. I'm not making, they're not made up. You know. I tell you what the next rant will be. Somebody asked me yesterday, and I said the next rant will be on my second channel, which obviously I've had a second channel this year, which is challenging. But the second channel is the right place for the next rant, which is about winter roads and potholes, which is something that has angered me for years. And I'm going to be going out and taking some footage of some unbelievable, very dangerous road conditions and saying, you know, maybe get my measure out, and I'm sure there'll be some conditions where everybody will identify with it. But it's not being done purely for clicks. If I was trying to get personal advantage out of it, I wouldn't put it on my second channel, which earns me nothing.
But in the same way that some channels are deliberately trying to provoke a response so that they get more people watch their video, which ultimately is about them trying to get a few pence more revenue, there are people that watch videos that are doing exactly the same. So the person you've just described who on Facebook talks about you without actually watching your video and saying, oh, this, that, and the other, what are they actually doing? They're actually trying to get someone to agree with them and validate their position. So they're clickbaiting themselves. It's bizarre. And there are people, I mean, there's a definite pattern. When I get a negative comment or someone's being disrespectful to someone else's comment on one of my videos, pound to a penny, it's someone I've never seen comment before. It's not like the people that comment on my video sometimes are positive, sometimes are negative. You generally get a lot of positivity about your videos, and then one person comes along and you've never seen them before and they talk a load of guff and clearly don't know what they're talking about sometimes, and then they'll move on to the next channel and say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They just make stuff up, basically, pigeonhole you into something that isn't accurate, and off they go, you know.
Yeah.
So they stereotype everybody. These people, don't they? You know?
Yeah, and I think that's what I'd like to try and encourage people not to be is if you don't agree with someone, that's fine. Just you don't need to necessarily. I mean, I'm not even saying don't say I disagree. People are entitled to disagree with you. What I'm really saying is you don't need to be nasty to people, and you can do it in a positive way. You can, if someone's got a point of view and you don't agree with it, then that's fine. You can accept they've got that point of view as part of your why I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
I just want people to be a little bit more polite and a little bit more positive.
Yeah. You can say, well, that's not been my experience. I found blah, 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 which is absolutely fine.
Which is where we both were with the 109. You got one that had a load of issues. I got one which had damaged decals. But fundamentally, we had the same kit, but we had different experiences with them because yours was quite ropey and mine wasn't too bad. And so we end up having a different point of view of the same kit. So you've got to understand when you're making comments on someone else's videos that they can only review or talk about what's in front of them. They can't experience what you might have experienced from it.
And that issue with that kit, without going into the specifics, is true of anything.
Yeah,
we can have different experiences, but they're not necessarily. Neither of them are inaccurate.
Yeah.
My issue, and we started with this, didn't we? My issue with that particular product is that nobody. It doesn't matter whether you get a good one, you, me, or here's the best way of me describing it to you. I think if it was the other way around and mine had been perfect and yours was an absolute nightmare like mine was,
yeah,
and I was first out, or one of the first out with a review,
yeah,
and I would have been saying this is. I don't think I'd given it 10 out of 10 because I had a bit of an issue without the tail insignia, but it would have got 9.75 out of 10. I think if it had been good. And then you'd have come along with your absolute disaster. And then I'd have seen Phil Flores as well, confirming that there's an issue. Here's where I would be, and this doesn't matter, it's nothing to do with Airfix. This is a general comment. Here's where I would be with it. I would then know that there was an issue out there with that product. It wouldn't affect my view of the one in front of me, but would I give that kit of the year? Would I?
Yeah.
I don't think I would, because I would know that there's a bit of a cloud hanging over it, and that some people's experience, because of what we said, there is no consistency.
Yeah.
And I think that to be considered an absolute premium product, you need to be consistent.
I tell you what else would happen under that scenario where I got the dog kit and you got the great kit. Someone would have left a comment on your video saying, "You must be an Airfix lover because everyone else's kits are rubbish." that's what would happen.
Get a tattoo with your mate. You can become blood brothers, as he said. You can't win.
You can't win. You can't win. So don't even bother trying.
No, indeed. Anyway, that's why we have the theme tonight of the Untouchables, because we are not going to give you a false. I was actually very pleased when you got the good kit. I thought, oh, well, at least that's something, And then, of course, about the same time, Flora got this bad one. But then you gave it a rave review, which is correct. Absolutely right thing to do. And I would have done the same thing, because you can only judge what's in front of you.
And unfortunately, my year with Airfix reflects where I think most people experience with Airfix. I've gone from the Jaguar great kit to the Stalwart worst kit of 2025 to the 109, possibly the best 109 ever tooled in 1 year. It's a roller coaster, Airfix, and that's the problem.
I started on a high and went,
yeah. What we need to do is flatline it. I would accept that it's a great kit, but could be better consistently with every kit. I'd be happy with that.
You really want every customer to have the same experience. That's for me, that's the most important thing of all. And any sort of minor idiosyncrasies about, insignias and this, that, and the other. That's always the case. There's no kit we say, this kit is absolutely perfect. I'm not sure I've ever said that. But this, like you said, this roller coaster is the thing that makes them. it's the Achilles heel for that company. It's a shame because they've achieved something incredible with that kit, and it's been undermined by the stupidest, simplest thing to fix, really.
Yeah.
You know, and they should. I'll tell you now. Spoiler alert! It's not kit of the year for me, I'm afraid. So so everybody knows. I've said it before. This is not news, but it's such a shame because I think it should have been. It should have been.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what your kit of the year is, because I've got in my mind what I think it might be. I'm not going to say because I don't want people to accuse you of changing it or anything ridiculous. But I will keep in my mind what I think you might go with it as kit of the year. You've already announced who the
Boxing Day.
Boxing Day, right? Well, we look forward to that then, Peter.
So but we're on a Monday, of course, 29th. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point of the video today was we are the untouchables. We can't be bought.
Yeah.
We're going to stick to our duty. And as we come to the end, you're supposed to ask me at the end, like the movie, you're supposed to say to me, well, that's all over now. The year's over. That's all over. What are you going to do now? That's what you're supposed to say to me.
Oh, okay. It's been a long time since I've watched the movie, Peter, but what are you going to do now?
Well, I'm going to go and have a drink, of course.
Yeah, me too. Cup of tea.
I was referring to the end of Prohibition, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you very much for joining me. I hope that we've kept it reasonably not too long tonight.
2.5.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether there's any big questions we've missed. Unfortunately, I know you've. I don't think we have. I think most of the questions we got through a little bit earlier. Anybody has got a question that we have missed, by all means, just put it in the comments and I'll answer it if I can. And if I can't, if it's for you, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay.
But as I say, I've got my. Did the UK ever have prohibition? No, I don't think we did we? Don't think so.
No. My understanding is they went to the pub to discuss it and decided it was a bad idea.
Perfect. What a way to end the show. So anyway, on that note, so thank you very much for joining me tonight and for all your help. I must say a big thank you to you for all the help you gave me with the Ukraine auction back in May, which was challenging. I mean, I've got to say that it was a fantastic outcome. That I had about approximately 900 quid with the kits, and we turned that into a gross of about 2,700, including the gift aid we got from the government. So that was amazing. Every penny of it went to Ukraine. So fantastic result, and you were a big help in that. So thank you very much.
No, it's definitely one of the highlights of the year, I think.
Yeah, and hope you're tuning in on Monday for the big show, my final show of the year. When are you on next?
I've got these on Monday. I've got the subscriber showcase coming up, so you'll be able to see all the models that the subscribers have built. Their best of the year. So I've got that coming along, and then the next time on the channel after that will be the following. I don't know if I've got something out on the Wednesday. I'll have a build up on the Friday, which will be the next part of the Lady Eleanor, which I've now finished, and then table talk on the first Saturday in January.
Excellent. Look forward to that. Have a very happy new year.
And you, Peter.
And to all the viewers and subscribers of both channels, thank you very much for all your support, especially those of you, as I mentioned in the little tagline on the bottom, that helped us with that auction. That was incredible. What people's generosity was astonishing. So thank you for that. Thank you for watching all the videos and for all the comments, especially the nice ones. And hope you have a great time and all the best for 2026.
Thank you, everyone.
And with that, we'll call it a night. Thank you very much. And I hope to see many of you as possible on Monday night. Are you joining us, Jason?
Oh, yeah, I'll be joining.
Excellent. Look forward to it. And until then, thanks a lot. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, bye for now.